Good evening everyone and welcome back to Next Gen Racing, live on YouTube, live on Facebook. We're here for the multi-class league featuring the prototypes and the GT3s, and this is round 3 of season 5 at Silverstone. Here at the heart of the Midlands, we're in Northamptonshire for this third round of the season and the first of our endurance races of the season. Now it is a multi-class league, but this is a championship running under a format which puts together sprint races, feature races and endurance races, and tonight is just 1 2-hour endurance. So a little bit about the series before we get going. As we mentioned, this is the multi-class league hosted by Next Gen Racing on Thursdays weekly, and we're in round 3 of a 10-round season. We'll go through the championship rounds very shortly. It features prototype cars, the LMDH cars or GTP cars, whatever your terminology is, whatever your preference is, and the GT3 cars. We'll go through which cars are available very shortly, but tonight, as we mentioned, is a endurance race. There's 3 of them in this 10-round season. And the way it works a little bit different tonight. So the drivers are getting 1 hour practice, but there's no qualifying for tonight. After the practice session ends in just over 20 minutes from now, we're going straight into the race. The grid is formed by the championship standings heading into tonight's round, but each category will be reversed. So it's a reverse grid of each individual category. There are 5 categories and we'll go through them shortly. And it is championship standings reversed of those categories. So a lot to take in, I realise, but we'll go through all the little details one by one as we get further and further on into the show tonight. A huge shout out to the sponsors of Next Gen Racing who help make it all happen. They are Benji Sim Photos, Mark Sykes Designs, Higgins Automotive, Powermax Racing, Motorsport UK Esports Division, Sam Cases, Joyce Design, Douglas Motorsport and IMB Racewear. Now, as we mentioned, we're in round 3 of the championship here. We started 2 weeks ago from today, and it was at the Mugello circuit in Tuscany, Italy. Then we headed west to Spain in Aragon for the second round of the championship, and what a round it was. We saw domination from certain drivers, and we saw good close racing from other drivers in last week's rounds. And probably the 2 of the more technical tracks of the season. We're now moving into the territory where it's the faster flowing tracks, particularly tonight here at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. As we mentioned, the first of the 2-hour endurances. Just a single race tonight, and it's 2 hours in length from start to finish. Next week we'll be off to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the road course, and that'll be back to the sprint and feature race format. There'll be a week off between rounds 4 and 5, but when we come back for round 5, it will be the Road Atlanta circuit. Very familiar with IMSA. If you are a fan of the endurance racing, that hosts the Petit Le Mans in the autumn every year. So looking forward to that round very much. Probably the more technical circuit on this calendar, actually, and very tight, very narrow, and very difficult to handle the cars. So that'll be a very interesting one to watch. The halfway point will be reached, but when we head over to the second half of the season, it'll be the second 2-hour endurance race of the season, and it'll be in Sebring in the Florida state, and it'll be on the 4th of July. How very fitting. Fantastic day to host at Sebring, and that'll be round 6 of the championship. Round 7 will be hosted at one of the more recent tracks to be installed on iRacing, the Algarve International Circuit, which is also known as Portimao, hosted in the Holiday region in southern Portugal. That'll host that round of the season. Spa-Francorchamps will host round 8 of the championship, one of the greatest tracks ever. You needn't say much more than that. Belgium will host round 8 of the championship. Back to Italy for round 9, and it'll be Imola, the Autodromo Enzo Adino Ferrari, and that will host round 9 of the championship, the penultimate round, and it'll be the final of our sprint and feature race format events. And then the final round on the 1st of August, where else is it going to end? It's going to end at Le Mans, of course, in France, and it's going to be a 2-hour endurance to finish off the championship. The cars that feature in this championship are as follows. Now, as we mentioned, there's prototypes and there's GT3s. Within the prototypes, or GTPs, or MDHs, whichever you'd rather call them, they are hybrid prototype cars designed for ground effect aerodynamics, and they are the Acura ARX 6, powered by Honda, of course, HPD. There's the BMW M Hybrid V8, which was the first installment of the prototype hybrids on iRacing. The Cadillac V-Series, what a great sounding car that is. I love hearing that go around on iRacing. And the Porsche 968, a very successful car in its own right. They're the 4 prototypes that host in this championship. And over to the GT3s. GT3 racing is probably one of the most popular mediums of motorsport there is in the world at the moment. Particularly on iRacing, it's hugely popular, particularly as endurance racing in sim racing and in real life is so prominent right now. And the marques that feature in this championship are as follows. The Audi R8 LMS Evo 2, a very kind of recent installment to iRacing. The BMW M4, which has been around for quite a while, but is still a very, very popular and competitive car. The Ferrari 296, the most recent of the Ferrari installments to iRacing. The legacy car of the Lamborghini Huracan Evo. More news on that and other cars in just a moment. But a very beautiful sounding and looking car is the Lamborghini, but quite a handful to handle is what I'm told. The Mercedes AMG 2020, maybe 4 years old, but it is still a very competitive car in its own right and features a little bit in the field here. And actually the leader of our GT3 Silver category drives the Mercedes, so it is still a very competitive car. And the Porsche 911 GT3 are probably one of the most popular cars in the GT3 category at the moment, is the 6th car in the GT3 category. Now, as we mentioned, the legacy Lamborghini, there is a potential that that car might get replaced in this series as the next weeks come and go, because iRacing are putting out 2 brand new GT3 cars, which include a Corvette and a Ford Mustang. So people are going to be very keen to drive those cars, and that's, you know, people get shiny new toy syndrome, don't they? And they want to drive these new cars immediately in their leagues, and particularly in official races. So we may see those cars drop into this championship as time goes by. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. We come back to the live action here. Now we have got just over 16 minutes remaining in practice here, but as we mentioned, there's no qualifying, so as soon as practice is over, we're going straight into gridding up for the race for tonight. But a little bit about the track tonight. We're at Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, the 3rd round of the season. I put Silverstone up there as one of the tracks on the Mount Rushmore of circuits in motorsport. It's up there with, in terms of occasion, with Le Mans, Monaco, Indianapolis, purely because it hosted the very first F1 race ever, and the very first British Grand Prix, of course. The first British Grand Prix here was hosted at 1948, and of course it hosted Formula 1 only 2 years later in 1950. The track followed suit in 1943 when Donington Park converted its airway into, or airstrip shall we say, into a racing circuit, and Silverstone very much did similar. It's seen many, many different changes over the years, and this being a very, very classic looking track in its own right. It's one of those you look at and you instantly recognise. Silverstone is only located 60 miles northwest of London. There's a lot of airports surrounding, so logistically it's not too bad to get to Silverstone. I only live about 40 minutes up the road from Silverstone, and yeah, and as we mentioned earlier, realistic weather, it is absolutely right. The sun is shining in the sim, the sun is shining outside right now, so unfortunately we're not going to see rain just yet in this series, but maybe soon we will. It is the summer at the end of the day, so expecting rain is probably a little bit optimistic, but who knows what will happen as the season goes by. We're using the Grand Prix layout, the wing pits, which means the start finish and the pits is located on the Lewis Hamilton Straight. We'll do a track of the circuit very shortly, but there's 19 turns on this circuit, 10 to the right and 9 to the left. It's a 3.6 mile circuit, or 5.89 kilometers if that's your measurement system. Expect top speeds of around about 178 miles per hour and 154 miles per hour from the GT3s, 178 being from the prototypes too, excuse me. Top speeds and average speeds are down from last week's round at Aragon, but of course Aragon had that big, massive straight, and this track, although there's a lot of long straight sections, they're not quite as long as straights as Aragon features in its singular long straight. But it's a very fast flowing circuit and it's quite abrasive on the tyres as well. So that's going to be something interesting to keep an eye out for tonight, is how often people come into the pits for tyres. It's they'll have to kind of really feel the car for how well the tyres are doing. And the thing is, though, when it comes to pitting, sometimes you may as well take tyres, because putting new tyres on the car isn't going to extend your pit stop. That tends to be what happens in endurance racing nowadays. But you never know. There might be a chance. Who knows, with certain conditions and certain tyre wear, where drivers decide to keep their tyres on and extend the life out of them. Who knows? Who knows indeed. Okay, so just a little bit more housekeeping to go before we get into the live action, I suppose. We've got plenty of time to kill, so why not have some nice housekeeping? We'll go through the championship standings, but of course, one thing to remember is the championship standings part form the grid for tonight. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to anticipate the grid tonight based on what we're looking at here, because I kind of have to look at the championship standings here and look at the entry list for tonight, which is a bit tricky to do. Yeah, basically the grid for tonight is these championship standings but reversed. So William Guthrie, who's had a great start to the season, he's won every race. 4 races we've had this season, 2 sprints, 2 features, he's won them all. He's not necessarily on maximum points due to fastest laps and pole positions, etc. He hasn't quite hit the maximum points, but he has got a very commanding lead of 21 points and full tilt, full pace at the moment, particularly in the hands of William Guthrie and some of his teammates, you'll see as we get further on through the standings. Max de Leiden is in 2nd position. Didn't quite have as good a round at Aragon as he did at Mugello, but he's still knocking in the good amount of points, and he maintains 2nd place by 4 points over Benjamin McCluskey in 3rd position. And he is 9 points above his teammate Gaz Williams in 4th position. Jamie Dory is on 52 points, not too far behind Gaz Williams, and maintains the top 5 placing at the moment. Hugo Silva in 6th position, with Roy Suarez in 7th position, Igor Martinez in 8th, Sean Shute in 9th, Stefan Wessels in 10th, and Felipe Salvino in 11th. So that is the prototype goals. So whoever is basically, if Felipe Salvino turns up tonight, he will be on pole position tonight. From what I can see, just having a quick scan, there's 8 of these drivers here at the moment, and I would say Stefan Wessels, who is 4th at the moment in the standings, or 5th overall and 4th in category. He in the timing for this practice session, I would say he's going to start on pole position tonight, and given that he did start on pole position for Mugello, there's a good shot for him to break away at the start of this endurance race tonight. But over to the silvers. The prototype silvers, that is. Miguel Alpalau has had a good season thus far. He's won 1 race so far this season, the sprint race at Mugello. So not doing too bad, and he's knocking in the points. He's getting good, consistent results, even though the wins aren't necessarily coming in thick and fast for him. Last week was dominated by Diogo Sa, who won both races. But it is Miguel Alpalau at the top of the standings. Jorge Bentes is in 2nd place. Do the maths quickly, Alex. 14 points behind Miguel Alpalau in the fellow E-Racecraft car, although in the yellow iteration of the team. Dwayne Hoffman is in 3rd place. Good consistent results, and keeping out of trouble has got him into 3rd place in the standings here, and he is 4 points ahead of Paul Williams, who's tied 4th place with Nathan Healy. Diogo Sa, as we mentioned, dominating last time out at Aragon. We could see again from him tonight, because he's doing very well in practice at the moment here today. So look out for him. And remember, there is 1 drop round available to all drivers in the season. So Diogo Sa is in good stead at the moment. Pedro Ramada in 7th position. He won a race at Mugello, so if we see him tonight, let's expect good things from him as well. And we got Mark Baker in 8th, Luca Monroe in 9th, and Wesley Lewin in 10th. Over to the GT3s now, and it is the GT3 Golds. It is Karol Pachałka at the top of the standings, dominating at the moment, well clear of the rest of the field at the moment by 36 points over Jesse Payne-Wilkins. Now it is a full tilt, 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Karol Pachałka has been the most dominant driver of this whole league so far, along with William Guthrie, it's got to be said. But full tilt doing very, very well so far, with a good contingent of drivers high up in the standings in all respective categories. Jesse Payne-Wilkins, as we mentioned, 2nd place, and he's just 1 point ahead of his teammate Ben Altria. Russell Fowler is in 4th position with Ricardo Santos in 5th. Edwin Simpson, Edwin Simpson tied 5th place in the championship here, and Edwin Simpson is not racing tonight because him and his partner have just had a baby. So congratulations to Edwin. Yeah, fantastic news to hear from him today. Gavin Gardner in 7th position with Alan McCain in 8th. Kieran Smart 9th. Rounding off the top 10 is Rui Rees, Craig Jones, Edwin Forsland, and Miles Owens carry out outside the top 10. Over to the GT3 Silvers. Jake Pitt leads the championship at the moment, but only by 1 point in front of Matthew Cheverton. It's safe to say this is the closest category of them all at the moment, and they're both teammates as well. So it's quite an interesting war we're seeing going on, inter-team war at the moment for the silver standings in the GT3s. Jake Pitt won the sprint race last time out, but the feature race was won by his rival and teammate Matthew Cheverton. So it's a good battle we're going to witness there. Looking forward to seeing how that plays out for the rest of the season. Baz Meacham in 3rd position, but he's kept company only 2 points behind by Nigel Stock. Baz Meacham has been putting in some good, consistent results, consistent amount of top 3s this season, and Nigel Stock didn't quite have as good a round at Aragon as he did at Mugello, but still putting in good points. 5th place is Ben Bennyworth for Quartermass Motorsports, and Kevin Stringer in 6th position. Kevin Stringer won the sprint race at Mugello, so even though I don't think he raced last week, but expect, if he races tonight, a comeback from him. Phil McDougall had his first round last time out at Aragon. He's in 8th position. Jochen Siegert in 9th position, and Mark Sykes in 10th. And the bronze category, last but not least, the 5th of our 5 categories. Jeffrey Kruger had a brilliant round last time out at Aragon, winning both races, and he did win the sprint race in Mugello as well, but he didn't attend the feature race in Mugello, which means he's down from points respective to that, but he's very, very competitive, it seems. He dominated last week, but points-wise, he is kept close company from 2nd place, Stephen de Gravelia, in his debut season, just 60 points, 4 points behind Jeffrey Kruger. Davide Favo is in 3rd position, just 2 points ahead of his teammate Elwin Sykes. Andy Chell in 5th position, with Andy Rooney in 6th position. Kevin Smith, who had a good round at Mugello, didn't race last week, but we'll see him back this week, I believe. He's in 7th, with Daniel Fritz in 8th, a good debut last time out at Aragon. And he is based in Australia, so it's nice and early in the morning for him. Perfect time for sim racing. And Kostachats in 9th position. So there we go, that's the championship standings, and I don't expect any of you to remember the order there to form the grid, but we will go through the grid later. But remember, it is the championship standings of each category reversed to form the grids for tonight's endurance race. As we get down closer to the live action, you'll see how the top 5 is looking for each of the categories, as we see Jamie Dory take a spin heading out the final corner there. Now the thing is with Silverstone, and Jamie Dory just demonstrated it beautifully for us there, it is a very tricky track in terms of handling. It's quite wide, so You can get the power down quite early, but it's quite deceptive in that when you get the power down quite early, it can lead you off the track, and because there's so much runoff area, it kind of invites you to stretch over the track limits a little bit. That's my feeling of Silverstone whenever I drive it. But fantastic racing facility is Silverstone. It's not necessarily my favourite British circuit, but yeah, let's get the comments section going. Let us know in the comments, what is your favourite British circuit? Mine actually is Donington Park, but I do love racing at Silverstone. It's brilliant for endurance racing, it's brilliant for open wheel racing. There are more British tracks coming to iRacing very soon in the form of Thruxton and Cadwell Park. So yeah, this can be very, very exciting. I think the only track we're really missing from Britain on iRacing now will be Croft. You could count the likes of Anglesey and Castle Combe as well, and I'm probably naming tracks that a lot of you in the watching here, if you're outside of Britain, may never have heard of those tracks I'm naming, but the British contingent of drivers in this series and watching on the broadcast, British racing fans watching on the broadcast, will be fairly familiar with those names, of course. Mark Kent says Brands Hatch for me. Yes, Brands Hatch tends to be a lot of people's favourites. It depends on the sim for me. I never get along with Brands Hatch on iRacing. I'm not sure why, but on sims like Race Room and others, I quite enjoy Brands Hatch. Now the question is, Mark, do you prefer the Indy circuit or the Grand Prix circuit? Brummy Sim Racer loves Brands, and Castle Combe is my local track, says Mark Kent. So you're near the kind of Gloucestershire, Warwickshire kind of neck of the woods, I'm assuming. I think I've got that right. Bath kind of area, I suppose. Yep, Silverstone is my local track, only 30-40 minutes down the road for me. I used to live in Wales though, so my local track used to be Pembrey, if anyone knows that. But yeah, but we're here at Silverstone tonight, looking forward to the racing tonight. The first couple of corners are going to be very, very interesting. The blast towards the loop and Aintree often sees kind of wincing moments in the Formula 1 when watching them hurtle into those corners. And I think we're going to have similar kind of reactions tonight, watching them. Well, you can see Deleading absolutely powering his way through Abbey there and into the loop here. This is the first braking zone of the lap. And of course, rolling starts tonight, which means they're already high on momentum when they head out the final corner. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting tonight. We're just a tick away from the race. Remember, there's no qualifying tonight. Straight into the 2-hour endurance. Very excited for this one. I've been very much looking forward to this round because endurance racing, I absolutely love it. You're just having to get into a nice rhythm, relax yourself, and just settle into the long distance driving but not lose your concentration at the same time. It's absolutely brilliant, and iRacing masters the endurance racing. The only thing I'd say is missing from this is driver swaps. Imagine that. Who knows? One day maybe for next gen racing, driver swap endurance racing. That'd be very, very cool. But as we look at the top of each of the standings, as we tail off practice here, it is not William Guthrie at the top of the GTPs. It is Gaz Williams. So, yeah, Guthrie's got a challenge this week indefinitely. And actually, the top four there, just over a quarter of a second between them. So it's really, really not that much. And drafting is key on this circuit. And undercuts are very effective here. Diogo Sá is top of the GTP Silvers. Half a second clear of Alpalau, so yeah, that's certainly carrying the momentum out of Aragon and into this week for Diogo Sá. Pachalka has the top spot in the GT3s. I would say he's not fully comfortable because Kieran Smart's actually done well there to get himself second and only just over a tenth behind. Jochen Siegert doing very well in the silvers there. Pitting Pitt for that top spot, and Jeffrey Kruger continuing out of last week and into this week with top in bronze in the practice session there. But now we head into the race. Or are we heading into a warm-up? We will see as we tick over. No, we are gridding for the race, so we will go over the grid for tonight's endurance race. As we mentioned earlier, Stefan Wessels will start on the pole position in the prototype gold category, with Rui Soares in second position. Hugo Silva will line up third position, with Jamie Dory in fourth. Gaz Williams will line up fifth, with Ben McCluskey in sixth. Max de Leeden in seventh, and leader at the championship will start eighth and last of the GTP Gold. On to the silvers. Wesley Lewin will start on the pole position for the silvers, with Luca Monroe in second position and 10th on the grid. Mark Baker in 11th, with Diego Sá, the double winner last week, will start in 12th, 4th in category. Paul Williams will start 13th, and 14th will be Nathan Healy. The last three of the silvers will be Dwayne Hoffman, Jorge Bentes, and Miguel Alpalau. Now the golds in the GT3s. Miles Owens with Craig Jones in 19th. Kieran Smart 20th, with Alan McCain in 21st. Gavin Gardner will start 22nd, with Ricardo Santos in 23rd. Ben Altria will be 24th, with Jesse Payne-Wilkins in 25th. And last of the golds will be Karol Pachałka. Jochen Siegert, who was quickest in practice, will start on the pole position, with Phil McDougall then in 28th. We're going to skip to the bottom of the silvers. Nigel Stock, Jake Pitt, Baz Meacham and Matthew Cheverton. The top four in the championship will start 31st to 34th on the grid. And of course we've got the bronzes there. Jeffrey Kruger will start at the back of those. We are going to get into the live action here, as they're getting away very quickly. It is Wessels at the front, but in 8th position will be our championship leader. As they come to the line, they'll power down very soon here, as the line is at the back there. Now the power is down, and it's a good start in the middle there from the purple next-gen machine from Jamie Dory. As we go into Abbey Corner, side by side they go on. There's a crash already. Benjamin McCluskey is involved, and they filter off in the back there, and the GT3s are going to be coming through very, very soon. McCluskey is in there amongst other drivers. Here come the GT3s now. Craig Jones leads them away, and the prototypes have managed to get themselves out of the way, and the GT3 cars starting later than what we normally see from them. There's a car slow at the back there with a missing rear wing. As we head through the complex here, the drivers trying to maintain a safe distance from one another, because they do realise it is a 2-hour endurance. And there was a car spinning there. That was Ricardo Santos. Oh, he hadn't quite spun it. He just slipped it sideways and avoided everyone and put it into the off area there. We will get a snapshot of the start of this race very shortly, but it is Wessels leading away at the front here. He's already gaining a gap over Hugo Silva back there in second place. Wessels was very quick at Mugello, but did not have results in his favour that time, so expect him to really put in a good shift in this race if all goes to plan for him. Under the bridge he goes, and it's a good start to this race for him. Now, I think there was a lot of silvers actually involved in that early wreck, I would say. I believe it was Ben McCluskey. Yeah, it was Ben McCluskey who did favour off worse, as we see side by side between de Leeden and Guthrie. De Leeden goes for the nosedive into Club, and Guthrie just about gets away with it. That is a place gained. Oh, it's on the inside. Diego Sá, not in the same category as these drivers, putting the move in on Max de Leeden and gaining position overall. Now Diego Sá started quite high up. This is a big dive to the inside. Contact with Sá, and that was Paul Williams making the dive. And de Leeden, who's not in the same category as these drivers, is really getting pinballed around here. And he has regained his momentum and has got himself back on track, quite literally actually. But he has lost a lot of gap from the drivers up ahead. Diego Sá started quite high up, as we mentioned, in the silvers, because he slowed down in the championship because he missed round one, and with him winning both races last week, this is a really, really good position for him to pick up a good early position for him. He's already in the lead here, as we can tell here. Now, we did have a incident while we were looking at that then. Kieran Smart here, who is one of the quicker of the GT3 drivers on the inside going into Club, who is that in front of him? Oh, and it's Spunny himself. He might have tapped the rear of the fellow GT3 car there, and it just sent itself round the car, did. As we try and find our way back to the live pictures. Yeah, let's see if we can head back to the start of this race. We will very shortly. Let's just keep an eye actually on this, as Guthrie is looking to make a move here, and I think Jamie Dory was looking to make a move on Hugo Silva, but can't quite make it yet. Guthrie is all over the rear of Gaz Williams. Gaz Williams was the quickest in practice, remember, so he's got plenty of potential in him for tonight's race. But Guthrie is the championship leader. He'll be determined to get to the front. But remember, also, there's plenty of pit stops in this race. I anticipate there's going to be at least 2 pit stops in this race, as we see a dive from Gaz Williams. Plenty of room given by Suarez, but he's left himself open to Guthrie on the inside as Gaz Williams, and there was contact, and there's a big hit from Guthrie on Suarez, as the dive from Guthrie saw Suarez go sideways, and there's a flash of lights there to say thank you, William, I really needed that. And that actually lost a lot of positions, lost a position for those drivers. Oh, and there's another spin back there. That's William Guthrie in the wall. The championship leader is in the wall and potentially out of this race. What is going on here very early on in this race? Let's check it again. We're going to go down the whole of the straight here. Now, there was damage on Guthrie's car, as we know. He had contact with Suarez on the previous corner there. He's getting a flash of the lights. Oh, it just looked like he turned right and it just got stuck on the grass. That might be game over for William Guthrie. He's in the pits. He's going to be getting a tow and he's going to be getting a fast repair, but this is going to put him a long way down. Laps down, even. Wow, the drama we've seen already in this race. I'm speechless, ladies and gentlemen, for once. What a start to this race. Incredible drama. Well, to just cap it off a little bit here, 4 laps in, and the GT3s are going to get caught soon, in just about 3 laps. I anticipate they'll get caught on lap 7, will the GT3s, by the prototypes. But it's Stefan Wessel's in the lead at the moment by over 6 seconds. He started at the front. He's a quick driver, we already know that, and he's a long way clear. Fantastic stuff from the South African driver. Miguel Alpalau, who's 6th overall, and it says 11 places gained. Now, he's top of the championship standings heading into tonight, and he's now leading this because something's happened to Diogo Sá. He's ended up back here. Now, we have got a replay to check of him, and we'll go back to it very shortly. I was about to click it when we saw Guthrie go off the track. Craig Jones leads in the Golds GT3s at the moment, just ahead of Gavin Gardner. And Dwayne Hoffman here trying to find his way back through. He must have been involved in some drama early on, and he's trying to get his way back through the field. Karol Pachałka is only back here in 3rd place, so he's really honing in on the front 2 here. And Karol Pachałka, who's been the dominant force of this championship in the GT3s, might well be at the front of this field very shortly. Jochen Seeger, who's quickest in practice and got himself a pole position in this category, purely because he hasn't taken part in many rounds so far this season, is at the front. But he's got Matthew Cheverton, who is the championship leader. Excuse me, I'm just going to check my... No, he's 2nd in the championship, 1 point behind Jake Pitt. And Jake Pitt is back here in 6th position in category, as we see a battle between Kevin Stringer and Ben Bennyworth. Oh, and a little battle here. Oh, look at Cheverton making a move to the inside of the CXR driver of Phil McDougall. As we head down the main straight here, he might be able to make a double move here on Jochen Seeger. To the inside he goes into Brooklands. Fantastic move from Cheverton. He had a great exit out of Aintree and makes his way into the lead here at Silverstone for round 3 at the championship. Fantastic stuff from Cheverton here, and his teammates will be keen to catch up, not only with his teammate to help themselves out when it comes to the team's front, but also to help his own championship out. And in the bronze category, we have got Jeffrey Kruger at the front. Now, he started quite high up in the grid because he... Well, actually, no, sorry, no, do excuse me. He was leading the championship going into tonight. It was Kevin Smith who missed last week and was quite high up on the grid, but he was very good at Mugello, so he'll be keen to put in the rivalry on the driver dead ahead of him right now, Jeffrey Kruger, to challenge for the bronze title. Now they're doing well to keep up with the silvers here. Just ahead of both of them is Baz Meacham and Nigel Stock, who are 3rd and 4th respectively in the championship in the silvers, so this is a good effort from the 2 bronze drivers here. Right, let's go back to some incidents. Now things have calmed down a little bit. I'll start scrolling and I'll try and find some incidents. I want to find out what happened to Diogo Sá, because he was punching his way through the goals, it's got to be said. As we can see, Stefan Wessels is now passing the GT3 cars. That was Stephen de Grevelier and Ruben Pino he was passing there, and I did say within 7 laps. I was wrong, it was within 6 laps. Never trust a commentator, never. We're just going to keep an eye on Stefan Wessels. Now, this is the part where endurance races are won and lost. He's passing through the pack and doing it safely, as that was a little bit of a surprising move, even I have to admit, on the Lamborghini there of Andy Chell. But, yeah, the 2 drivers respected each other enough to give themselves enough room to pass through the corner safely. Now, I'm still trying to find that Diogo Sá incident. There was a lot of passes on track, and here we go. We have got Diogo Sá's incident here, and I think it involved Max de Leiden as well, because I can see his name near this as well. So that is Diogo Sá in the gold and black car there as we head through. It was this here. It was when Guthrie and Suarez made contact, and de Leiden, got to be fair to de Leiden, he didn't really have anywhere to go and just ended up going into Diogo Sá here. So Sá will come off worse for wear there, but I wasn't really too much fault to de Leiden, in my opinion anyway, from my subjective opinion. As we see Wessels still passing through the GT3 cars here. He's caught up with the silvers now, and this is going to be very tricky for him, but he's still 8 seconds clear of Hugo Silva in the prototype category. Let's see if we can get a replay of the start of the race. We're going to go green flag, and we're going to find Ben McCluskey. So we'll stay in the aerial view here. Now McCluskey is right in the middle of our screen. Now Guthrie takes to the left of him immediately. There's not much room there for Guthrie, and McCluskey is trying to keep it closed, and he brakes for the corner, and he understeers towards Guthrie, and that turns him round. There was other stuff going on as well. Just going to keep an eye on Luca Munro here as well, because I believe he had an incident as well, but it wasn't directly involved with McCluskey's. So away goes the silvers here. Munro is in the silvers, remember. All this happens right in front of Munro. And it is this the CSA car understeering into Munro, and that sends him off. There's another. There's another there. Oh, and taking another spin there. Whoa. That must be nerve-wracking. And into the wall went the driver there. I'm just trying to work out who it was. I think it was Mark Baker. Let's see if we can get Mark Baker on replay here. So this is Mark Baker here. Let's see what happened to him in this. After this, we'll go back to the live action. So he tries to go to the outside. This happens in front of him. He has to take avoiding action, and into the back of him nearly goes a full tilt driver. And Baker trying to get himself going again. He did well to avoid all of that, but he lost a lot of track position. That's the problem. Now, for tonight's race, drivers do get more fast repairs. They get 3. So it's quite a lot, actually, when you compare. You don't get any in official endurance racing on iRacing, and it's more than what we get in the feature races and the sprint races. Sprint races, we get 1. Feature races, you get 2. But in this, because it's a longer race, you get 3. But of course, there's other things as well. There are extra points available for these endurance races, as we see the prototypes navigate past the GT3 cars, and Pachalka not taking a liking to the e-racecraft car, passing him very, very late in the corner there, as Pachalka is on a pursuit to get himself into first in category. As just up ahead here is Craig Jones, the current leader in category in the race. We haven't seen much from Craig Jones yet this season, so doing rather well is Craig Jones here in this race. In the green mean machine there of this SCCR Sim Sports machine. But yeah, to be holding off Pachalka at the moment, that is some going, because Pachalka really has been the MVP of this season. So other categories going on. Alplau has a very good lead here. He's ahead of some of the golds, in fact. Behind him there is Max de Leiden, who is second in the prototype golds, heading into tonight's round. But that's the thing, with Max de Leiden, McCluskey, and actually our championship leader, Guthrie, fairly down the order, especially Guthrie, it gives Gaz Williams and Jamie Dory the chance to get themselves up as Gaz Williams goes for a move into Stowe corner. Plenty of room given from Hugo Silva there, but this is the battle for second place in category. Gaz Williams can't complete the move because these cars, actually, because they're so good on acceleration, it's hard to out-accelerate another car in category. So it's all got to be done in the corners, and it's all got to be done under heavy braking. Look at him all over the rear of the full tilt car just in front of him there. On board with Gaz Williams. We can just see in the mirror Jamie Dory is hovering around Gaz Williams as well. Wide there goes Hugo Silva. He has to back off in the exit, but there is another corner here to get him out of jail. Gaz Williams will want a late cut at the corner here and earlier on the accelerator to get himself down the straight, but he isn't quite gaining on Hugo Silva as much as he probably would like. But at the same time, what you have to consider is that Gaz Williams sitting behind Hugo Silva here will save some fuel. And that is another important element to this race. Is the more fuel you save, the later on in the race you'll end up pitting. And it means when you get to the last pit stop of the race, the less fuel you need to take on, and therefore the less time you are in the pits. That's the crucial elements to endurance racing you have to remember. Now, it's a 2-hour endurance, which means there's less pit stops, which means that big gains in the less pit stops really are big gains. And that might be what Gaz is thinking here. Either he just genuinely can't get past Silver, I'm not entirely sure. But our league host here, big hand to him actually, as him, Ben McCluskey and Mark Sykes do a great job of putting on this league. But look at this at the moment. Gaz Williams trying again at Stowe. Takes to the inside. He looks to be further up the inside than last time. He's in front. But, oh, I was thinking Hugo Silva might be able to get himself back alongside, but he hasn't. Will he try under braking? No, he won't. Gaz Williams comfortably brakes late on the brakes, and he is now second place in category. Williams will be looking at this right now. With the fact that there's more points available for the endurance racing, he'll be happy with how he's doing so far. He was quickest in practice. He can get his head down, and he can either focus on trying to catch up with Stefan Wessels, or he can focus on maintaining second and get himself through the race. And saving fuel, I suppose. But yeah, the amount of points you get in these endurance races, as we just alluded to there with Gaz Williams, it's not quite double the points you get in the feature race, but put it this way, first place in the feature race gets you 25 points. First place in this endurance race gets you 50 points. So, but all the other positions are not quite double. It's a little bit different how it formats. But yeah, the higher positions in this race is crucial, especially that the combination of, let's say, first in sprint race and feature race is still less points than that of a win in the endurance races. And that's the key thing with these championships. That's what's going to make these endurance races, albeit only 3 out of 10 of them, really important. Let's give some attention to the GT3s again. Karol Pachalka is in the lead here. Now, something's happened to Craig Jones. He's quite far down here. Now, we've missed something somewhere, but we can go back to it, I'm sure. See if we can find out what's happened to Craig Jones. But our leader in the GT3 Golds is Karol Pachalka, and we'll see if we can find the move that actually got it done. Okay, let's see if I can get the move on here. be a bit tricky. There's a lot of overtakes in this race. This seems to be more than previous races we've had. Here we go. We got a Craig. Carol Pachalka passed Craig Jones for P15, which is P1 in category. Now there's a GTP car there. Oh, to the inside. Oh, and they door rub just up ahead there. That's Craig Jones and an E-Racecraft, and they're not letting up from each other. And Pachalka swoops to the inside to take the lead. Oh, let's see if we can hang on to Craig Jones here. Something may have happened further on in this lap. I'll have to keep an eye on it. And that behind is Gavin Gardner. A bit squirrely out of left field is Jones, as he now gets overtaken by Gavin Gardner. I think this is going to be a move completed at Copse. We'll go back to the live action shortly. I'll continue to look for how Craig Jones has ended up falling down the order. He's 5th in category still, but he's down to 26th overall, which is a 10-place drop from where he was. But our championship leader in the GT3s is well and truly on his way to making it 5 wins in a row. As it stands, I mean, we are only 10%. 10%? No, we're not. We are actually 20 minutes into this race. 1/6 of the way through. There we go. And Carol Pachalka doing very well so far. Gavin Gardner is keeping him honest, though. It's got to be said. He's only 2 seconds behind, and Altria himself is only 2 seconds behind Gardner respectively. But actually, a lot of the gold category cars in the GT3s here have kind of fallen by the wayside in the form of Craig Jones, Ricardo Santos, Kieran Sparks we saw earlier on have an incident. Alan McCain, his luck continues. He's well down the order, as is Miles Owens. It's been a very eventful start, and actually the Silvers here, they're fairly close together with one another, but there's actually quite a few who have gone down the order. Jochen Siegert was leading a while ago. I'll see if I can find what's happened to him as well. But our leader here is Matthew Cheverton. We did see him take the lead earlier on, but his lead over McDougall is not actually a very big lead. It's only 1.7 seconds. And just behind him here is Ben Bennyworth, and we've got a battle here between Kevin Stringer and one of the Full Tilt prototype cars. That might be Dwayne Hoffman. But Kevin Stringer knows he has potential to battle in this championship in the Silvers. He didn't have quite a good round last time out at Aragon, but he did have a good round at Mugello, so the potential is there for him. And Jeffrey Kruger here in the bronzes, keeping up with the leaders in the Silvers. It's absolutely brilliant, it's got to be said. Now, we did see Kevin Smith not too far behind him earlier on. I'm going to see if we can find what happened to Kevin Smith, actually. Kevin Smith jumped to the pits, which means he must have had an incident. Now, let's see if this will give us an indicator as to any damage or anything like that. This is a replay of Kevin Smith going to the pits. Well, it should have been, but the replay function isn't quite working for him at this moment. Interesting. But the Verano Motorsport representant will not be overly chuffed with that, as he is in the pits here, taking on a tow, potentially repairs. And he seems last of the runners at the moment. On track is Nigel Stock. 38 cars out on track at the moment. And we've got Jamie Dory in the pits as well. Now, what's happened to Jamie Dory here? I think Jamie Dory's had an incident somewhere. See a lot of cars passing him in the events here. Let's just take a little look at this one, see if this gives us an idea. Jamie Dory's not in sight at the moment. Is he off the track somewhere? That's what I'm wondering. Well, that was supposed to be an overtake on Jamie Dory. It certainly wasn't. So I'm not entirely sure what's happened to Jamie Dory there. He's stuck in the pits at the moment. And he's not going anywhere fast. It's been a very dramatic race. It's not quite happened for quite a lot of drivers here. One driver it's definitely happening for is Stefan Wessels. Now he's passing through a couple of GT3s there. He's losing a little bit of time to Gaz Williams. I wonder if we can get a time comparison between Williams and Wessels, and we can't quite, but fastest lap is held by Stefan Wessels at the moment, a 1:43.6. Quite a good lap considering how much traffic they're passing by. And Gaz Williams' best is on a low 44. Their last laps, Williams was 2 seconds quicker. So, make of that what you will. We've got Kevin Smith in the pits here. Now we were just trying to... Oh, it's not working still for him. There we go. Thank you, Verano. Kevin got wide. Ran wide by a GTP. Onto the grass. Turn 3. Saw him spinning in front of Jamie Dory. Yeah, we couldn't quite capture that. And we got an instant with Nathan Healy in the silvers here. This is heading into Brooklands. It might be just connection issue. Oh no, it was a spin. It was a spin going into Brooklands, but there should be no damage as long as the rejoin's okay. That's the lead and getting by relatively safely. Yeah, it's been a very strange race so far. I'm calling it here. Very strange. Drivers just having bad moments in this race, it is. Now, this is quite an interesting little battle here. We have got Diego Sá here right behind his teammate, but Diego Sá, who did have a little bit of drama earlier on, is passing by. Oh no, and he spun it heading out of Aintree. He just about keeps hold of it, but then when he switches the other way, he can't keep hold of it. Let's get a quick little replay of that as Diego Sá takes the lead in the silvers and Alpalau has dropped to 4th, maybe even 5th. You can see he's on the inside. Is that William Guthrie on his outside? Yeah, he hits the curb and he's turning left and it just gives way on him. It's just the rear tyres just overpowering themselves and spinning out as a result. But he's still 4th. He's near 10 seconds down from what was going to be a close battle between him and Diego Sá here. That's Hugo Silva, excuse me, just in front. That is William Guthrie's teammate. Oh, as they pass by more GT3s. We have got Ben McCluskey here as well. Now he's trying to get himself onto the podium here on the prototypes. He has got Hugo Silva 2 cars ahead of him. Between him and Hugo Silva is Diego Sá. So Ben McCluskey will be keen to get himself into that 3rd place because that will really, really save McCluskey's skin when it comes to points in this championship. But Diego Sá, even though this is not really his fight, he's getting stuck in, he's getting involved. As they pass by Gavin Gardner there in the purple or magenta coloured NXTGEN machine. Through Abbey they go and up towards the loop in Aintree they'll go. This tends to be where a lot of the moves are made by the prototypes because it's the heaviest braking zone, or one of the heaviest braking zones on the circuit. That's Karol Pachałka right in front of these prototype drivers here. They know how much Pachałka is dominating this season. They really don't want to compromise anything of his race. Pachałka very wisely moved to the left there to just say, you know what, you guys go by, I don't want to get involved. Oh, a little bit wide there from Hugo Silva. And McCluskey all over the rear of these two. through Copse Corner. Oh, bit of understeer there from Diego Sá, and away goes Hugo Silva and McCluskey trying to pounce on Diego Sá here as they go through Maggots and Beckett's. It's going to be a little bit more needed from Sá to catch back up with Silva, but Silva did actually go wide there, heading out of Beckett's. And down the main straight here, Sá will get the slipstream. Probably not as much hybrid as he would have wanted. He is gaining on the straight here, though. And McCluskey's dropped off a little bit, so a good sequence of corners there for Sá to recover. Oh, as he goes a little bit wide there, the rear end getting very squirrely. And we've mentioned time and time again that these cars are actually extremely difficult to handle. Can't just get into them and drive them with the high downforce that they pretty much do have. But they're so, like, twitchy in the sense that they go into the corners very, very direct. It is tricky to handle them with that at the same time. And of course they're high-powered machinery as well. So they are very difficult cars to handle as Hugo Silva goes wide. And that's going to allow through Diego Sá. But no, not giving up is Hugo Silva. He went for a move on the inside, but it didn't quite move. Sá somehow did not spin from that, and stamping on the brakes was Hugo Silva. And round the outside of Silva, going through the loop, was McCluskey. And that gets himself into third place and onto the podium. I suppose that's why Hugo Silva was still trying to hang on to that place. It's because he was trying desperately to cling on to that third place. So let's take a look at this move yet again. Let's go on board, actually. Yeah, just not slowing down, not hard enough on the brakes, a little bit late on the brakes. Trying to keep it on the inside, but then stamps on the brakes, realising, actually, I'm not going to make it. And you'll see around the outside here, there goes Ben McCluskey. Well, what can Hugo Silva do to react here? He's the highest representative of full tilt green in this prototype gold category. It's fierce competition. And McCluskey here following the silver driver. So as I mentioned earlier, this is not Sá's battle and this is not McCluskey's battle. But can the two use each other to either catch up with drivers up ahead or fuel save? And that's the point. When are we going to see the first iteration of pit stops? 80% fuel tank on these cars, so I think they get to about 45 minutes, if I'm remembering right. Oh, Diego Sá powers his way around the corner there. Not the most optimal of lines. You can see McCluskey is taking much deeper lines into the corner, going much wider lines, shall I say, into the corners. He's taking a later apex, trying to get the car more straight lined on the exit, which one is faster out of the corners, but also is actually easier to handle. You think about it, the straighter your steering wheel, the easier these cars are going to be to handle. And that'll be the reason why he's doing that and trying to get the power down early. He's going to be quicker than Sá at the corners. And he's going to also maintain better control. A little bit of a shout out to Luca Monroe here. He got involved in an incident at the start of the race in the silver category, in the prototypes here. But he's actually running in second place in category here. He's running 6th overall. Now he is 11 seconds off of race leader Diego Sá at the moment. And Alpalau is only back here, and he had drama earlier on as well. He's actually making his way back up with Paul Williams just behind him. But Monroe has had a really good comeback since that lap 1 incident here. So hats off to him there. It's got to be said. GT3's Pachauka leads by 3 seconds. He's opened up a little bit of a gap to Gardner. Gardner championship-wise, heading into tonight, was 7th position. Similar results from Mugello to Aragon. 21 points for Mugello and 19 in Aragon, looking at the championship points there. So he'll be keen, and he's well on course to do so, for a good result here tonight. 45 points he'll get out of this race, if it finishes as it is right now. So that'll be good for his championship. Now, of course, there are bonus points in this championship in the form of fastest laps and pole positions. Now, of course, there's no pole position fastest lap for this race. Hang on a minute. Nope, we don't. It's just the timing screen deceiving me a little bit there. But yes, yeah, there are no pole position bonus points for these endurance races, but there are still fastest lap bonus points. 2 for fastest lap in these endurances, whereas 1 in the sprints and the features. You can see Pachauka here getting lapped by another prototype teammate in the full tilt purple outfit. Although Pachauka's in the pink outfit, although there's a lot of purple on that car still. That was Nathan Healy passing by and saying, "Good job, carry on, Carol, doing a great job." Likewise is Matthew Cheverton here. He's actually opened up a bit of a gap to Ben Bennyworth, who's in second position. Just under 3-second gap, so it's certainly not fully comfortable yet for Matthew Cheverton. And he's got a gold driver keeping him company behind in the form of Jesse Payne Wilkins. And Ben Bennyworth here has had quite a consistent start to the season, actually, has Bennyworth. Well, Mugello, I think he actually had to have a tow at Mugello, if I remember right. So, yeah, so Mugello didn't actually go that well, but Aragon went pretty well, and he is closing in. Well, last round he certainly did. He's closing in on 3rd and 4th. He's 5th in the championship at the moment, and tonight at this race, certainly seeing that Baz Meacham and Nigel Stock are quite far down the order right now. This is good points to Bennyworth, and getting himself towards the top 3 here in this championship will be what he hopes for. Bronze category. Jeffrey Kruger, top of the standings at the moment by 4 points, and this will certainly extend his gap at the top of the standings in that bronze category. His closest rival is Stephen de Grevelia, who is 7th in category right now. Davide Favo is 3rd in the championship, and he's 6th in category right now. So Kruger would be pleased with how this is going. Another rival of his probably could have been Kevin Smith, but he had an incident earlier on, as we alluded to. Didn't see what happened. He's 8th in category at the moment, so Kruger would be very happy with how he's progressing tonight in this bronze category. Wessels is opening up that lead from Gaz Williams, so this is really comfortable for Wessels at the moment. He got himself the first pole position of the season at Mugello, but couldn't quite convert it, as in the opening lap of Mugello, he had an incident and it sent him well down the order, and it just set him up for the rest of the night, really. And I don't think he raced last week. No, he didn't race last week. So far to his name in this championship, he's only got 7 points. But out of tonight, as it stands anyway, 50 points out of tonight. And I believe you'll get the bonus points, as he does hold the fastest lap at the moment. I'm just going to compare some other drivers. Yes, he does. He holds the fastest lap, so that's a bonus 2 points. So a healthy 52 points coming out of tonight, and that'll put him on 59, which puts him much higher up in the standings. But of course, there's drop rounds, have to consider that. But he's got a missed round and a low scoring round to his name already, so he's really got work to do for the rest of the season. But it certainly does help him and other drivers in this category that William Guthrie is actually out of this race right now. He's in the pits, and he's decided not to continue. Now, I'm not actually sure if DNFs equal 0 points in this championship. There's actually nothing in the rules that says. Oh, yep, it does. Sorry. Yes, it does. You must take the checker flag to score points, but be within 75% of your own class leaders, finishing laps at the end to score points. Additionally, you will not score points for DNF, DNS, or DSQ. Right, there we go. So, if Guthrie, in fact, is not going to... Well, there we go. That is it. Guthrie will not score any points out tonight. So this opens the door up for Gaz Williams and McCluskey to get themselves a good line of points tonight. But it does allow Guthrie to have a drop round in this championship. All to be considered, and it really does all add up and make more sense as the rest of the season goes by. Now, Diogo Sa has dropped down a few places. Now, is that because he's pitted, or is that because he's had an incident? Let's have a little look. Well, McCluskey's had an incident somewhere. And he's still third place. Ah, this will be Diogo Sa in front of him. Oh, and the rear lets go of McCluskey there. But let's see if something happens to Sa quite soon. Ooh, see the Lamborghini there. I think that was Andy Chell just about avoiding Sa passing through on the outside there. But yeah, at the end of that lap, Diogo Sa does in fact enter the pits. So Sa has taken his first pit stop, and that comes at around about 37 minutes or so. Wessels stays out. So a potentially tactical stop from Diogo Sa there. A count of pit stops so far, so Diogo Sa, as you can see there, one stop at the moment. Max de Leiden in the gold category has a stop to his name at the moment, so that's an interesting one. Kieran Smart in the gold category has a stop to his name. How far is he? He's do a little bit of maths off screen here. Yeah, he's that far behind. Karol Pachalka is on the Wellington Straight, but Kieran Smart is on Stowe here. So I believe that Kieran Smart is still quite a long way off of the top spot. But we'll see when the stops really come in thick and fast, which shouldn't be too long. If it's an 80% tank, I reckon it'll be in the next 10 minutes or so that the majority of these drivers do pit. But a very interesting race so far. So we see Silver and McCluskey in the pits. Here we go. There are a fair few prototypes in here. Monroe second in the Silvers before the pits is in, and the leader of the Silvers is in the pits, Miguel Alpalau. Well, he was second in the Silvers actually. It was Sa who's leading, and Sa passes by. And he is well and truly out of reach from Miguel Alpalau, who's now leaving his box. How does he compare to Luca Monroe? Luca Monroe is still in front. And they leave the pits with 40 minutes on the clock. Now, I believe... I think I'm right in saying this because someone kind of messaged me about it during the week. I can't remember who it was, but thank you about it. Now, I do believe, and I'm fairly sure this is the thing with leagues on iRacing, is even though you have 80% of a tank at the start of the race, I think you can fuel 100% of the tank. I think, anyway. Either that or 80% is your max capacity. I'm not entirely sure which of the two it is. If you do know in the comments, because it's actually not... I can't actually make sense of it in the rules right now. Help me out with it, ladies and gentlemen. Help me out. And hopefully by round 10, I'll know every little nook and cranny of this championship. I'm fairly sure I know quite a lot of it already, but a few things even I'm just getting a little bit confused by. As we see McCluskey and Hugo Silva on their outlap negotiating traffic. Now, whoa, that was close from McCluskey getting past one of the Audis there. Is it an Audi? I think it's an Audi. Yes, it was. And yeah, this is the important thing, is getting through traffic is crucial for these drivers right now. As we see Gaz Williams heading out of the pits, Wessels is headed out of the pits as well. Now Wessels has ended up behind Max de Leiden here. So that's real interesting, as de Leiden came in earlier. Now I'm not sure how off-peak his strategy is. Let's see if we can get the pit lap here. Lap 13, de Leiden came in. So 11 laps difference in strategy between de Leiden and Wessels. Well, and actually Gaz Williams as well. So it's a very interesting difference in strategy here for de Leiden, but he takes the lead. Albeit not too far in front of Wessels, actually. So we'll see what Wessels can do here as he makes his way on his outlap past these drivers 4 seconds behind the leader, he is. It's going to be very interesting indeed. Now, back to the silvers. Diogo Sá is back out on the track. He's 3rd overall now. Not just top of the category, but this is Gaz Williams, who was 3rd, and Diogo Sá has managed to get some sort of a undercut on Gaz Williams, having pitted 4 laps previous. The GT3s, or the majority of them anyway, have not come into the pits yet. Pachauka is still out there. But in the bronzes, coincidentally, Kruger is in the pits here. Now it says lap 21 for Kruger, and it's because the GT3s have done significantly less laps than the prototypes, obviously. Kruger's car up on the jacks at the moment. It comes down, the tyres are on the car, and the remainder of what goes in the car will be fuel, and it'll be as full fuel as possible, and he'll try to get as far as he can on that tank. Now, if it is indeed 80% full capacity, it means that the next stop for these GT3s would be around about the 1 hour 20 mark, which means when they put fuel in, it will be a very near full fuel tank to take them to the end. And that's why pitting as late as possible is crucial, because you can save precious seconds in the pits. The tank fills up very slowly in these cars in endurance racing, and that adds to the element that fuel saving is crucial in this series. Pachauka, we'll see when he comes in the pits. Kruger has decided to take his stop early. Pachauka's not in the pits yet, and that's why I said Kruger is taking his stop early. Now, I wonder if Kruger's done that to avoid some traffic. That tends to be what I choose to do in races like this, where you're a bit open to strategy. Certain times you pit is you'll do it to avoid certain traffic oncoming or incoming. But Pachauka is... no, sorry, not Pachauka. Kruger was in a race of his own in the bronze here. He had a healthy lead. He's dropped down to 5th here, but others are yet to pit. See, Payne Wilkins is in the pits for the GT3s. He's decided to pit a lap earlier, and he has hit the 45-minute mark, so it would be around about 1 hour and 30 when he comes in next. Pachauka might well be in the pits next time round. Gavin Gardner here actually doing really well to hang on to Pachauka, and Pachauka is a real strong driving force, it's got to be said. He's heading on his way to 5 victories, but he's being kept honest by Gardner here. He will rack up a good amount of championship points, Will Gardner. We mentioned earlier on he didn't quite have the best of rounds at Mugello and Aragon, but this will certainly be a difference to them. Let's keep an eye on Pachauka to see if he comes into the pits very soon. Looking at the prototype golds, actually Deleden is pulling away from Wessels, I believe. We'll compare the last stops between the two very shortly. In fact, we'll do that now. Yeah, Wessels is lapping slower, as Pachauka is indeed in the pits. And this is the race leader coming in for the first of 2 stops in this race. Gavin Gardner carries on. He's able to save an extra lap of fuel. Now that could be... I mean, there's a 5-second gap between Pachauka and Gardner, but a lap here and a lap on the next stint could be a good amount. Could be a good amount saved for Gavin Gardner, and he might well be able to put a challenge on Pachauka through strategy. So we'll see how this plays out later in the race. Keep an eye on these GT3s for the time being. Ben Altru is also in the pits. Phil McDougall, Matthew Cheverton, who's leader of the Silvers. Jake Pitt, his championship rival, has stayed out, so he's saving fuel as well. Cheverton's heading out of the pits here. Now, he's not too far behind Jake Pitt when it comes to track time. This is Jake Pitt heading into the loop. And this is Cheverton heading into the loop now. So, Cheverton in front of his championship rival is doing very, very well. And he's only second in category right now, heading out of the pits. So he's in a very comfortable spot here right now, is Cheverton. Let's see if anyone else hasn't pitted yet. Stephen de Gravelia hasn't pitted yet in the bronzes, and he's sitting second, only 7 seconds out. Oh, as we see a car off there. Who was that? I think that was Kevin Stringer. Let me scroll back to it. Oh, he's got a lot of cars around him. Oh, right, okay. Outside of one of the CSA cars. Oh, car on his inside, and he didn't quite see he was there. That was Phil McDougall on his inside, and I don't think Stringer quite realised McDougall was there alongside, and it sends him round into the spin. But yeah, Stephen de Gravelia has gone very long on his stint here. The only thing I'm wondering is if he's pitted already, but Jeffrey Kruger has pitted and is still in the lead, so this is really showing how dominant this race has been for Kruger. Real good display from him in this race. There are a couple of them in each of these categories that just seem to be very, very dominant figures in their respective categories. Pachalka is one of them, and Kruger seems to be the other in the bronzes here. Defending champion out of the bronzes was Nigel Stock, who, of course, through that winning the championship last season, promotes up to silvers. And I guess that's the fair way of evening out the domination of one category to another, is when you win one, you move up one. Of course, that can't be done with the golds, but with the silvers and bronzes, it certainly can. So Gavin Gardner here has been in the pits, and he's back out on his outlap now, and he's behind Pachalka as we thought it would be, but it seems that Pachalka has opened up a little bit more of a gap. It was around about 5 seconds between them before the pit stops, and is now just shy of 8 seconds. So Gardner, it just shows that the undercut here at Silverstone is quite effective. De Gravelia is in the pits, one of the last remaining 2 pits. Ricardo Santos has also gone into the pits of the GT3 Golds. Away goes to Gravelia, head back out on track. Right, let's get back to this battle between Max de Leeden and Stefan Wessels. So Wessels, it seemingly was dominating the start of this race, but as soon as we've gone to the pit stops, things turn around. 5 seconds between him and de Leeden. Up here, going through Stowe right now. It is a battle on track, and it is a battle via through strategy. Now, it is the question of whether Max de Leeden pitting on lap 13, as you can see there, is still going to be enough to keep it a 2-stopper in this race. That's the big question for this race tonight. And Max de Leeden will see an opportunity through this, and that might have been why he went for the bold strategy. We'll see an opportunity through this to get valuable championship points on his rival William Guthrie, who's DNF'd. A win right now here for Max de Leeden would put him a long way into the championship lead. Last lap of the 2 drivers is not that. There we go. barely a tenth between the two drivers in the prototype golds. We're at 53 minutes through the race, not quite at the halfway point yet, and 30 laps down. So it's going to be quite a lengthy race in terms of laps. A lot of laps for these drivers. Well, in the prototypes anyway, it will get near on 70 laps when they get to the end of this race. Oh, there's a car there with a lot of front end missing there. Who is that? Davide Favo. Yeah, that's a very, very mangled car, and let me see if that's happened recently. Yeah, nothing's... Oh, there it... Yes, something has turned up. There we go. So there is a front end on his car, and then all of a sudden there isn't a front end on this car. And we'll see how that's happened. It's heading through Club Corner here. Oh, and the rear end gives way into the wall. Oh, that's just one of those where the rear end's drifting. We'll just take another quick look at that. It's one of those where the rear end is drifting round the corner. Just about see it. Yep, and trying to get it back onto the racing line. A little switch to the left has sent the car round and into the wall, but he's carrying on at the moment. He hasn't gone into the pits. Davide Favo should have a fast repair at his utilisation. There are 3 available to each of the drivers for this race. But that's a race that, unfortunately, for Davide Favo is going from bad to worse. 3rd in the championship heading into tonight, and he's 7th right here at the moment. So he will certainly look to the future rounds. But his teammates doing pretty well here. Jeffrey Kruger and the fellow CSA machine. And Jeffrey Kruger has actually got 3 silver cars and a gold car between him and second place newcomer tonight, actually, Ruben Pino, and we'll give him a little bit of attention here on the cameras. Driving the BMW for the eRacecraft team, taking over, I believe, from Rui Reese, who has had to pull up the series, unfortunately. And we got a few incidents to look at. Wesley Lewin and Stephen de Gravelia, something's happened to them. I don't think directly in the same instant. Here goes Lewin. Oh, he's looking to the inside. Locks up the brakes. Contact with the car then. Was that Jake Pitt? No, it wasn't. I couldn't quite see who that was then. And also Stephen de Gravelia. This looks to be very similar to Davide Favo, but the opposite way. Stamps on the brakes. Please keep away from the wall. Will be going through his head. Now he has to try and get it back around. A little bit of an Austin Powers kind of moment on that straight to get it back in a straight line, because you don't want to reverse onto the racing line in front of traffic. And also pulling forward to just put you into the wall. And iRacing's quite delicate with its touching with the wall. You can't just scrape it along the wall to get it going again. You'll do all sorts of damage to your car on iRacing. But Stephen de Gravelia was second place in the championship heading into tonight. He isn't anymore. He'll be fairly low down the order in the championship, not being quite the round for him. But there's other rounds in the championship and there's other opportunities. He's done good points-wise to get himself second so far. There'll be other chances. First placing category at the moment, Jake Pitt. It says Jake Pitt hasn't pitted. I wonder how that is the case. Now, he's not exactly a huge heap of time ahead of his teammate and championship rival Cheverton. in the same team but on fairly different liveries, and that livery of Matthew Shepton's gives me DTM vibes for some reason. Reminds me of the early 2000s Mercedes in DTM. Well, it is a Mercedes, Alex. I'm not surprised by that, but yeah, that's what I get from that livery. So we see the 37 car move to the inside and pass Cheverton to lap him. That's another thing about this series, if you're not quite aware, there are rules around how the prototypes need to overtake the GT3s. They're advised not to do it in the corners, they're advised to do it on the straights. But of course, this is a corner right here, and we saw a prototype passing the GT3 just then. You could go into the technicals like that. But as we see Davide Favo back there, back out on the track with a fresh front end on the car. But yes, you're not supposed to do your overtaking and lapping of cars in the corners. You're meant to do it on the straights. But these things tend not to go that way, as being in the much faster prototype ones or the GTPs. You tend to get a little bit impatient when you're driving them. It just naturally that happens, and you will try and get yourself past cars quicker in order to help yourself, your track position and your battles with rivals in a fellow category. Max Verstappen leads here in the prototypes. It is fairly close between him and Wessels, and the times are identical. They're within 130 thousandths of a second on the last lap. So a tenth between them, lap after lap, because it was similar when we last referenced them. This pretty much might be a battle down to fuel saving and strategy between Wessels and De Leiden. The thing is, earlier on in the race, it really did look like set in stone that Wessels was just going to run away with this. How wrong was I? Oh, we got an instant further back in the field. Stephen de Gravelli has had an instant, and it seems our cameras might not be able to capture it here. Oh, there we go. We just about got it. And that's heading through Abbey. So I'm not entirely sure how that's happening. It might be just turning left too sharply and the rear end has just given way. Stephen de Gravelli is struggling with the car a little bit. And something I mentioned earlier, now I imagine, I'm going to assume that all the drivers have taken on new tyres. I just wondered if some haven't actually taken on tyres. I don't think it's the best strategy to go for, because it is quite an abrasive track on the tyres, and I do think taking on tyres, whilst you're not actually wasting any time or saving any time not taking tyres, it'd be the more sensible thing for the drivers to do. So Max de Leiden's in the pits. It's come around to his stop again now. 1 hour 1 minute expired, and now he's leaving. Okay. I think Max de Leiden's going to need another stop. I think it was an unscheduled pit stop he ended up having earlier in the race. Because if that's anything to go by, when he stopped around about lap 13 earlier, I think, that's definitely not going to be enough to get to the end of the race. It definitely strikes me that it's 80% fuel tanks. So Max de Leiden might not well be net leader of this race. It will still be Wessels. But second place overall, and first in category, Diogo Sá here. I remember having a chat in the chat and YouTube, of course, as there's a car slow on the side there. Let's just take a little look. That's Alan Kane. That sounds like an engine that's not running. Listen very carefully. Let's see if we can find out what happened. We've got an off track from him. He's got a few prototypes passing by. Running nice and wide on the outside. Oh. Oh, that's strange. Has he run out of fuel? I think he's run out of fuel. Yeah, I believe he's run out of fuel. And he's in the pits now. I'm not sure if he got there. I think he's stopped. Yeah, he must have stopped. He can't have made it to the pits. So that means he would have needed a tow, and it means a long waiting time to get himself back out on the track. Oh, I tell you what, if Alan McCain had any more luck, he'd have none at all. Really hasn't happened for him this season. I feel quite sorry for him, to be honest. There's a couple of other drivers heading in the pits here. That looks like getting smart there in the pits. Let's move on. Nigel Stock's in the pits as well. Now these would be the unscheduled pit stops from those that were involved in incidents earlier on. Nigel Stock was one of them involved in an incident earlier on. Now he's leaving. Oh, there's been an incident. Matthew Cheverton, our leader in the Silvers, has had an incident here. And that relinquishes the lead to Ben Bennyworth. Now there's a prototype going in the inside. And another. A bit late there. And contact on the rear. Oh, Cheverton will not be happy about that. And through goes Ben Bennyworth. We've got another incident as well. Mark Baker has had an incident. But that's to change the lead in the Silvers. Oh, hit at the curb. Unsettles the car. Trying to get it back out the corner is the Silver driver. And the rear just lets go. The good news, though, is Alan McCain is on his way out of the pits. He's got the car towed back. It wasn't a large tow in time, to be honest, because he was fairly close. Hugo Silva's had an incident now. This is in the loop again. I knew this corner was going to be, and Aintree was going to be hassle. Oh, the rear end, let's go. Ooh, trying to get around there. I think it's Jake Pitts. Just about makes it. Whew, it's been a bit busy here in the last few laps. People getting tired as we get over the 1 hour mark. But, yeah, this is quite interesting indeed. But it's also close as well. In this gaggle of prototype cars, Diogo Sá in second place here. And just a little bit further back here, right behind, is Gaz Williams. And Ben McCluskey is only back here. So these three still in an intense battle, albeit one of them not in category. If only he was in the same category, it'd be a brilliant battle for position in category for these drivers. As Ben Bennyworth there passing, leader of the silver category. What an opportunity this is for Ben Bennyworth. Been a bit quiet, I'd say, in the series so far. Mugello didn't quite go his way, and Aragon went pretty good. Second highest scorer in the Silvers. Sorry if you heard the dog barking then. But yeah, Silvers. This is going to be good points for him in that silver category. But of course, he has to maintain this gap over Cheverton then. Sorry, in second position, 4 seconds down. Cheverton of the two, is he lapping quicker? It's a bit hard to tell actually, because the last lap Cheverton spun. But we'll see if we can compare this this lap here. Keep an eye on the battle box there between the two. Cheverton will have his angry, Mr. Potato Head's angry eyes on. Maybe hunting down Ben Bennyworth. to get that position back. Feeling a bit angry from an incident further back that potentially wasn't his fault, and he'll probably feel it wasn't his fault. BMW is a great sounding car. It looks very fun to drive as well. It just drifts around the corners. Just a few hundredths here and there he's gaining on Ben Bennyworth, and actually through Stowe then. Oh, he goes a little bit wide, just exploring the track limits a little bit. Has a few instant points in hand. I'll take one or two there to try and get myself closer to my rival. That time between Cheverton and Bennyworth really came down there on that latter part of the lap. No, it hasn't. He had a slow down penalty and he had to serve it. So there we go. The time's going to extend now between Cheverton and Bennyworth. So it's now go up to close to 6 seconds. Cheverton just needs to keep it calm. He has the pace to do it. Albeit Bennyworth putting in a really, really good performance tonight. He's challenged Cheverton since the word go. That's Max DeLeeden passing by Ben Bennyworth, and Bennyworth giving him plenty of room as he goes to the outside of Brooklands entry to Luffield then. Another driver to give a shout out to, again, Jeffrey Kruger. He is first in the bronzes, and he's not too far behind the top two in the silvers, actually. So this really is a stellar performance from the CSA driver tonight. If Aragon wasn't enough, tonight certainly is more so. Haven't given this guy much attention recently, although he's had a lot of attention this season. It's Kara Pachalka, our leader in the GT3 Gold. Near 10-second lead over Gavin Gardner, so he's just plucking away at that time little by little per lap, and Gardner is keeping him honest. Flash of the lights there from Pachalka. Either to say I do not approve of your overtake there, or thank you for not overtaking me so badly. That's usually what the flash of the lights means from a GT3 driver towards a prototype, as McCluskey waits until after entry to make his pass. And it is so frustrating being in a prototype car. You have to sit behind the GT3 cars through the corners in order to overtake them safely. It is quite frustrating, but it certainly is the more moral thing to do. And both to keep your own race safe in a prototype, and also the GT3 drivers' race safe. Back to the prototypes. Wessels is comfortably in the lead overall by 20 seconds and about 21 seconds over Gaz Williams. Williams is being kept honest here by McCluskey behind him, and has actually got a target in front of him in the form of Diego Sa. Just ahead of him there in the gold and black E-Racecraft car. And McCluskey here trying to get by Baz Meacham in the BMW. And Club Corner must be a very difficult corner to overtake in these prototypes, with them being so loose on the rear end. And the cars would be set up for this track on a low downforce setup, but there's 19 turns on this track. So low downforce on a 19 turn track, it can be very sketchy. And that's also why it's quite degrading on the tyres, this track, because there's so many corners, and actually they are very high speed corners. They swap and change left to right, particularly the Maggots and Beckett section. And the Abbey section will be quite intense on the tyres, likewise will Brooklands and Luffield here. So driving these prototypes, it must be very on the edge of your seat stuff. Let's just actually get inside the cockpit of the Porsche driver here, of Benjamin McCluskey. And you'll see how small the inputs are on some of these corners around this track. About 45 degrees load to the right on that wheel there through Copse Corner, and you can see tiny little movements to get the car initially turned into these corners, and then when the car has leaned into the corner he's putting more load on the wheel, but then even still on the exit of the corner is ending up putting opposite lock on, just a little bit of opposite lock on, but there's really small movements in the wheel here. There you go, tiny little movement initially, and then we'll load the wheel in further into the corner as a car gets round. Now, Diogo Saris just emptied the pits. And we can see him head round. And, well, interesting. Last time he pitted was lap 20. So he's gone 21 laps. He's gone an extra lap further. I don't think this is going to be a two-stop race for Diogo Saris here. I think this is going to end up being a three-stop race. Now, I don't know about the rest of the prototypes, though. They've left a little bit further on, and actually they might end up needing 3 stops as well. Think about it, they've done 2 stops in the space of 75 minutes, and they've got 45 minutes remaining. You do the maths, it doesn't quite add up. So yeah, these prototypes may be needing an extra stop. McCluskey might be a driver to monitor here, as he will be nearing the end of his cycle of fuel, as he's close to the rear of Gaz Williams here, heading through Maggott and Beckett's. This is full position, remember. And McCluskey at the end of the fuel tank. Now, the thing is with these prototype cars, particularly on a track like Silverstone, when they get to the last few litres of the tank, as it stays out for another lap, as they get to the last few litres of the tank, the car feels so light and so good. And it's normally when the car is at its best, when the tyres are rubbered in and there's less fuel in the car, you can really, really get it going, particularly if you're in a good flow. And with McCluskey being in a good slipstream here from Gaz Williams, although these cars do push out some very, very tricky dirty air, you'll kind of get used to that as the driver of these cars, and you can really use it to your best. Particularly when you're chasing a car in front, they always say it's easier to chase than it is to defend. Let's keep an eye on drivers pitting. But I anticipate that McCluskey will be one of the next drivers to pit. As they head up towards Copse Corner now. That'll slow McCluskey down a little bit. He had to overtake Ricardo Santos heading into Copse Corner there. And that gives Gaz Williams a little bit of breathing room through Maggott and Beckett's here. Their teammates are Williams and McCluskey, but no less rivals. They are battling in the championship. They are in the same category. Round Stowe Corner we go. And McCluskey will stay out for another lap. A little bit of GT3 traffic here as he makes his way past McDougall nice and safely. McDougall giving plenty of room here. Hugo Silva has not come into the pits. It's my timing screen defying me again. But we'll see. We'll keep an eye on Silva here, because he did pit on lap 22. So he might be approaching the end of his cycle of fuel, and he's got the leader of the Silvers right behind him. Current leader of the Silvers, that is. Oh, just about avoiding the BMW there. And to the inside will go Alpalau as it clouds over a little bit here in Silverstone. Wide goes Silva. Alpalau will try the undercut. He's on the inside. Oh, and it is contact between the two, but they just about make it through Lovefield, through Club Corner unscathed. That was very close. Well, I think there was massive netcode there between the two drivers, but wow, that was close. Whew. Very close indeed. So Wessels is heading into Stowe Corner as Gaz Williams and Ben McCluskey are heading into Maggots and Beckett's here. Quite a gap between them. It'll only take one instant for Wessels to lose this though. That'll be what he's thinking. He can't let off too easy here. And actually, it was a 2-second gap between Gaz Williams' last lap and Wessels' last lap. Sorry, a 1-second gap. There we go. McCluskey's in. As he makes his way round the corner. The undercut is powerful here, so McCluskey pitting before Gaz Williams and being that close to Gaz Williams as he came into the pits. We'll see what this can do to McCluskey in terms of track position. That's the lead-in passing by, but we still don't think it's net position for the lead-in. He had a very unscheduled pit stop, and we think he's going to need an additional pit stop. Or will he? That's going to be the interesting thing, actually, is to see if the lead-in is going to need the additional pit stop. We'll see when McCluskey leaves the pits. Alpalau is also in the pits. Kevin Stringer has come in as well. On the way out is McCluskey there. Baz Meacham's in the pits. He was 6th in category in the silvers. Oh, there's a little hiccup in the server there. So, Gaz Williams here. He last pitted on lap 24, so realistically he should be able to get himself to lap 48. He keeps going. Yes, he does. So, no, he'll know that the undercut is quite effective here. And with that, he'll try and get the hammer down on these final laps. Whilst his tank is nearly empty and he can really get into good lap times, McCluskey will be on a heavy tank for quite a few laps. So that's the thing. The undercut immediately is very effective, but as it prolongs a little bit, it's not so much. We'll see, though. We'll see. I might be eating my own words there. We'll see what happens. Back to the GT3s for a moment while we let things unfold in the prototypes. Still Pachalka leading, and he's extended his lead very commandingly in this category. He's now 14 seconds in front of Gardner. And for the silver category, Bennyworth still leads, and by 5 seconds over Matthew Cheverton here. And we saw a couple of laps ago, Cheverton got rear-ended, got turned round, and it meant he lost his lead in this category. The bronze category, Jeffrey Kruger is not actually that far overall behind the leaders of the silver category, so it's been a really, really good race from him. Second in category is Ruben Pino on his debut in the BMW. And Elwyn Sykes not too far behind, and he is indirect teammates with Jeffrey Kruger. Now, race leader of the prototypes is in the pits. Now, he hasn't been able to extend this stint probably as much as... Yeah, it ticks over to 47, so he did lose a lap on that one then. Gaz Williams is also in the pits. Right, this is the big watch here, is to see how effective that undercut will end up being for Ben McCluskey. Williams is in the pits. McCluskey's here. And he's heading up towards Copse Corner. So if we get the track map on, we might be able to see. So, we're with Gaz Williams on the lower right on the Lewis Hamilton straight. McCluskey is heading into Beckett's here, the number 4 at the top of the map there. So that is what you need to keep an eye on, him behind the car ahead. Back to Gaz Williams. Down from the jacks. And you can't quite see Ben McCluskey's car on the track map right now, unfortunately. It's a painful, painful wait as he takes to the track. McCluskey's heading out of Club Corner here. Gaz Williams is already back out on the track, so Gaz Williams has really put in a good couple of laps here, and he will maintain that second place in category. McCluskey's all the way back here. He's lost loads of time. So the excuse me, the undercut not quite effective this time around, but we did, I think my kind of predicament that Gaz Williams was on an empty tank and putting in some good lap times might have been a bit true there. But Gaz Williams is comfortable, or more comfortable should we say, at the moment in second place. It is all down to whether De Leeden's going to need an additional stop though. So we saw Wessel's last pitted on. Let's do some maths here then. Right, so Wessel's pitted on lap 46, which was around about 4 minutes ago. So 120, half of that is 40. Whew, I think he is going to be close, you know. I would say De Leeden only needs one more stop here, and I actually think De Leeden might well be the net leader of this race, you know. A very off-peak strategy, but I do think he's only going to need one more stop, and I don't know. No. Actually, I think Wessels won't need to stop. It's going to be close, but I don't think Wessels will need to stop. I think McCluskey's going to be close on fuel, actually. This is real interesting. Let's see how this goes. It's going to be nail-biting stuff as we get to the last 10 minutes of this race for the prototypes. Now, the GT3s... It says lap 33, Chowka pitted, but of course that's GT3 translation of when they'll pit. I can't actually tell how many laps completed these GT3s have done. There's no way of me really identifying it. Still a battle I want to monitor closely. You can just see coming out of Beckett's there and onto the Chapel straight, the Hangar straight, sorry. Where's Matthew Cheverton? Whoa, as Ben Benworth wanted the corner there, but he had the prototype on his inside. He had to really bail out of that, and it's actually quite hard to do that in these GT3 cars, is bail out and get onto the marbles, because these cars... You put a sudden quick movement into the GT3s and they very easily give way, particularly if you're still braking for the corner. But very well handled from Bennyworth. As we see McCluskey pass by Cheverton there. Cheverton actually is closing in on Bennyworth. The last lap was about 4.5 tenths quicker, but I would say, well, if we look at their best times actually in this race between Cheverton and Bennyworth, so Jake Pitt has got the outright fastest lap of the two of them, and it's 0.8 quicker. But look how close it is. It's only 24 thousandths between them in terms of best times. They will be approaching the end of their fuel cycle here, and this will be the last stop for the GT3, so it is a two-stopper for the GT3s. It remains a little bit up in the air for the prototypes. I still think it is actually a two-stopper for the prototypes, but only just. Down below 4 seconds between Cheverton and Bennyworth. There goes Bennyworth in the black BMW, and there in the silver Mercedes there. Cheverton really putting in the laps now. We'll see. These are the last lap times set, and as I mentioned, it was 4/10 quicker in Cheverton's favour on the last lap. We'll see what is on this lap. Into Vale goes Bennyworth. So, this lap from Bennyworth. 02.5 and an 02.0, half a second quicker on that lap. And we saw it with the gap dropping between the two. You can actually see 5 laps ago, and a second has dropped between them in those 5 laps. So it might be that Cheverton, when the car is more empty on fuel, is a little bit more confident. But I've raced with Bennyworth. I've raced with him in an IndyCar league, and I know quite how kind of calm he can be, actually. He can just kind of ride the wave and just, you know, yep, the results will be what the results will be. He's quicker than me, he's slower than me, and he just kind of acted like that when we did the IndyCar League together, and ends up getting really, really good results. And this might be one of those calm and measured drives from him. 3.5 seconds between them. It's, yeah, it'll be at the end of their cycle, so I'm very low on fuel. Oh, let's go to... Oh, an incident further back. I clicked on the wrong one there. Ben Altria has had an incident. Let's see what's happened here. Ah, the rear end's let go. Yeah, that can happen as the tank gets empty, but it happened by himself there. Yeah, as the tank gets empty, the rear end can get a little bit looser. 3.2, 3.1 between Cheverton and Bennyworth. Now the last laps between these two. Fastest, a personal best from Cheverton. Bennyworth's also getting quicker on his personal lap times, but Cheverton has set a personal best of an 01.7 to Bennyworth's 02.3, so another half a second, more than half a second. And we have to jump to Nigel Stock as he's had an incident. Heading at a Vale here. Sorry, club corner. Oh no, and he's hit the wall. The rear end gives way. He goes back on the racing line momentarily there, but gets it off the track safely. Yeah, another one of those where the rear end gives way. Coming out of club corner is a very difficult corner, actually. And you want to get it back in a straight line, and it just won't do it. Karol Buchalka has just set the fastest lap of the race in the GT3s. As the tank gets real empty on these cars, they get very quick, as we mentioned. It's not just the prototypes, the same happens with the GT3s, and Buchalka, just rubbing salt on the wounds of his rivals here, has gone even quicker. half a second off a sub 2 minute. And I think it's a bit of a stretch for him to get below that. But can he? Can he? It is really coming down between these two. Oh, and in fact, it will come down even more because Benworth is in the pits here. So there we go. The time has come for the GT3s to take on their final stop. Cheverton will take the lead momentarily of the Silvers. He's in good momentum here, and we saw with the battle between Williams and McCluskey, which has actually opened up between the two drivers now, but we saw Williams was able to get the hammer down and open up with the additional laps he had on an empty tank. Could we see similar from Cheverton here? Bennyworth heading out of the pits, and Andy Chell has had an incident somewhere. It's coming out of Copse Corner. Might well be that the car has let go on itself. Now it's a very tricky car, it's the Lamborghini. Yes, turned in a little bit late there, I think it was, and the rear end just lets go. Ooh, stops on the racing line there and gets it going again. Oh, that could have been a little bit worse than ended up being there. Keep our eyes on the silver driver here. Karol Pachalka might well be heading in the pits soon. He isn't. He's done another lap. And he only managed a 2-minute 1 on that lap. Come on, Pachalka. Pull your finger out. Let's see what happens to Cheverton here. Real key battle between him and Bennyworth. And it's for the battle, for the win, sorry, in the GT3s, and now comes the time. Cheverton's in the pits. He had real good momentum and was catching Bennyworth. As he's in the pits now, Bennyworth is going through the exit of Beckett's here. Now, Cheverton on his last stop here won't need to take on as much fuel. It's just how much safety he puts in the car to make sure that he has a quicker stop, but also to make sure he gets to the end. Away he goes. Bennyworth is heading through Club Corner now. Here comes Bennyworth down the Lewis Hamilton straight, turning into that tunnel. There goes Cheverton. I think Bennyworth is he's not going to make it. No, Cheverton is in front, but only just. He's got the undercut. Oh, and turning into the corner. That was very close between Gaz Williams and Cheverton there, but I think Gaz Williams did actually have it under control. It just looked very close. But look at that from Cheverton. He's taking back the lead from Bennyworth through a brilliant undercut or overcut. Which one was it? Overcut. To get by Ben Bennyworth. Fantastic stuff. But Bennyworth was seized in front and he'll really want to get the hammer down here. We saw Bennyworth was really good actually on the stint last time where he had a full tank, so he might be able to put in some good lap times here. He has a prototype on the outside which will not help. He's within reach of Cheverton. The battle is on for first in this category here. Jake Pitt is the leader at the moment of the silver category, yes, but he will need another stop, I do believe. I'm just going to check here. Yes, he will. He will need to stop soon. But I believe Jake Pitt was running third. So still a good position for Jake. Ah, fantastic. Exciting stuff here. Now, DeLeden's in the pits. This will be his last stop. Wessels will pass by. Now, it's all down to whether the drivers in these prototypes can get it to the end now. What a drive it's been from this guy as well tonight. Prototype silvers. Now, I'm going to mix it in with the golds. He is now, as he passes by... Oh, he's not actually. Deleiden has come out of the pit and he's in front. So he's second overall now, is Deleiden. Now, of course, he hasn't needed to take on as much fuel, which means he's on a much shorter stop, and it puts him net second now. 16 seconds between him and Wessels up front there. And he's in front of Gaz Williams and Ben McCluskey back here. So this is now the battle for third in category as they split round Andy Chell in the Lamborghini there. They'll see Deleiden's come out in front and they'll be relatively annoyed about that, particularly as Deleiden is one of their championship rivals. Deleiden from tonight will no doubt take the championship lead as it stands. But the question still remains is if Wessels can get to the end. I'm going to assume he can. That's my assumption. But it's thrilling stuff here. Drivers going off strategy is what we love in these kind of races. Just rolling the dice and just giving it a go. I mean, circumstances might have been another thing. I think Deleiden was half involved in the incident on the opening lap of the race. But it's so interesting. Paul Williams has had an incident in the silver prototypes. This is going through the loop. The rear end lets go. It's just another one of those where the brakes haven't quite been haven't quite worked to their best, and the rear end just swaps on itself. Deleiden was fairly quick on that last lap. He's gained a second already. A little bit hard to tell with the last lap times there. But Deleiden will be like looking at that time thinking, I've just got to give it a go here. Fastest lap of this race is also something to look at. These are the bonus points only on offer tonight. Wessels holds it at the moment by a commanding gap, actually. Half a second, it seems. Paul Williams holds it in the prototype silvers. Only just, but holds it. Pachalka holds it in the GT3 golds. Jake Pitt holds it in the silvers, as we alluded to earlier, and Jeffrey Kruger in the bronze category. 2 bonus points for the fastest lap. An extra 2 points can do you a world of difference in the championship like this. Let's get back to this little battle here, because Bennyworth is really not letting up. That is Cheverton right in front of them, and that is the lead in the category he'd be looking at right there. He lost it in the pits just a few laps ago. Oh, and you can tell he's really pushing it through Maggots and Beckett's here. Understeers a little bit and has to take off a little bit more speed through Beckett's there, and away goes Cheverton down this main straight. He's going to gain a little bit of time, but you can just tell how much Bennyworth is pushing. He's really trying to get everything he can out of this car to try and snatch that lead from Cheverton. And it's definitely the closest battle on the track when it comes to the lead. Karol Pachalka is dominating in the golds here, and Jeffrey Kruger in the bronzes. Another lap started. These are great races when you can have close battles like this in such a long, intense race, and you're still battling within a second of a driver for that win, and you're near 2 hours into a race. It's incredible having these kind of battles. Jochen Siegert has had an incident in the loop section. It might be heading into the loop that rear end gives way. Yep, went into the corner a little bit shallow there, and trying to overload the wheel there. Just the rear end just doesn't give, just doesn't agree with it there. Let's take a quick gander here. It's below 15 seconds between Deleden and Wessels, as Deleden is trying to pass by the GT3 bronze driver Stephen de Grevelier there. But yeah, something I forgot to do last week, and I do apologise for forgetting to do that, but driver of the day is something I like doing on my broadcasts. So I'm going to start thinking in my head, silently, who is going to be the driver of the day of this one. There's been so many stellar performances tonight. Max Deleden's one of them, because he's gone off peak with his strategy, and he's rolled the dice, and it's nearly paid off here. Unless Wessels has to come in again, Deleden hasn't quite done enough, but I think it's just been a real solid roll of the dice there. Diego Sara has been exceptional in this race as well. He's the third highest prototype. He shouldn't be. He should be like 6th or something like that, you know? No disrespect to the silver drives at all. I don't mean anything by that. But it's why they're put into categories. It's so it's gold's at the top, silver's next, and so on and so on. And he's just really putting in some stellar performances. This is another one just like Aragon. I got to take my hat off to these two as well. They're 3rd and 4th in category, but they've been battling all race, and it's been brilliant to watch. So got to take my hat off to Gaz Williams and Ben McCluskey as we head into the final 15 minutes of this race. Business as usual for the Karol Pachalka, and actually of the drivers who have had 4 and 4 coming out of Aragon, the 2 drivers that have, Karol Pachalka is the only one who's going to come out with 5 and 5. So, yeah, it's truly stellar performance and a maximum points race yet again for Full Tilt. There we go. Yeah, what did I say last week? Full points, full tilt, or full tilt, full points. Full everything at the moment for this guy. Another stellar performance from Pachalka. Good battle between Cheverton and Bennyworth. It's still super close between them two, and you know, definitely shake each other's hands. Hopefully by the end of this, and hopefully it's a good battle between them if they do end up getting to battle. But it's so intense between them. You can just see Cheverton's flashing his lights frantically, saying, "Come on, guys, get out of the way! I'm in a big battle here." Bennyworth so close behind. Bennyworth would just be praying that a prototype driver puts off Cheverton, like here. It means Cheverton can't take his optimal line, and look how much Bennyworth gains under the braking zone and the turning zone. That's what he'd be praying for. He'd be praying that a prototype doesn't put him off, and that one puts off Cheverton, and he gets a crack at being right up the exhaust, or even overtakes Cheverton up ahead. And Cheverton just be praying every time that a prototype appears in his mirrors that they don't put him off. He's got a GT3 back marker there, and you can see he cunningly guards the inside of Luffield there to make sure the prototype does not overtake him on the inside and puts him offline. Now he can let him through. He's following another full tilt driver just up ahead of him here, whom lets him through. But Bennyworth now frantically flashing his lights to say, "Come on, get out of the way, you've got a blue flag." And another prototype passing by. Oh, as it gets close, Bennyworth will be threading the eye of the needle past these drivers and letting others through. Still close between him and Cheverton. Another stellar performance tonight for Jeffrey Kruger. Dominated last week and has dominated tonight as well. You know, if he didn't have what happened to him in race 2 at Mugello, he'd be having the kind of a status season like what Pachelka's been having in the golds, just dominating this bronze category at the moment. It'd be interesting to see, you know, him and Kevin Smith equally competing in the races, but also both of them out of trouble as well. I'll be keen to see that against Kevin Smith, because he was the standout in the bronze category in round 1. So I'm keen to see them two go up against each other next time out at Indianapolis. So there we go. There is the season calendar. Next week, the day before I go on holiday. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And Indianapolis is another one of my favourite tracks. 4. Lots of GT3 cars here, and look at that. Bennyworth has been fought back by another driver. That's Jake Pitt, who's just come out of the pits. So Jake Pitt has joined the battle for the lead. It's a 3-way fight now for the top in this category. Jake Pitt takes second place as he comes out of the pits. He's taken it away from Ben Bennyworth, and he's protecting his teammate here. Incredible. Now, we did say Jake Pitt was going to pit late, and he obviously, I didn't quite comprehend that he didn't need much time in the pits, and that's ended up getting him in front of Ben Bennyworth. It's pitted to perfection as all the prototype drivers here trying to get past the silver drivers, and Bennyworth has had to go wide at cops to let them through. Thrilling stuff here. Jake Pitt will get his head down and he'll hunt down his teammates, because they're so close in the championship as well. Coming into tonight, Jake Pitt was leading the championship by 1 point in front of his teammate up ahead, Cheverton. And Cheverton is just less than a second ahead, or just over a second ahead. Now Bennyworth has dropped some time because Jake Pitt has ended up getting out on track right in front of him. And the teammates will work together. Will they cash in here, or will Jake Pitt not care effectively? Will he just try and cash in for a win? It's perfection to get himself out right in front of Bennyworth there, to slot into second place and to cover off his teammate. That's something you'd see from the likes of the Red Bull team in Formula 1. Bennyworth might be a bit disheartened here. He might be a bit frustrated that luck has fallen that way for him. But he definitely can't give up. There's 10 minutes left in this race, and he could do a lot of damage in this. Not literally, but he could do the damage in this and try and take the battle to Pitt and Cheverton. Because if he catches up to Pitt, Pitt has no choice but to put the hammer down and get away from Bennyworth. But you can see here, Pitt is actually gaining on his teammate and getting away from Bennyworth. So momentum is with Jake Pitt here. Last time out at Aragon, just going to check my notes, he won the sprint race and Cheverton won the feature race. So they split the winnings last time out. But Pitt did perform better across the 2 races of the 2 and took more points out of last week. Very, very exciting stuff. Back to the prototypes, and actually the gap between Wessels and Deleden has come down quite a lot, more than 5 seconds. I'll see if something's happened to Wessels earlier on that we may have missed. No, we definitely haven't missed anything, so it might be purely traffic, or now this is the thing. Let's get on board with Wessels. This isn't indicating there's fuel saving, but I just wonder if there's been some fuel saving going on from Wessels. He was a second slower on the previous lap than Deleden. And Gaz Williams doing a 43. So there might be a lot of traffic obstructing Wessels here. Nathan Healy has had an incident. We'll go and check that. He's on his own here in the purple full tilt car. Heading into Brooklands. Yep, couldn't quite hit the apex. Tried to correct it. The rear end lets go. We've seen that a lot tonight from... that's just typically what happens with the low downforce cars on iRacing at Silverstone. It's not a very forgiving track because it's so slippery on this track. Well, Silverstone's definitely delivered tonight as we get into the final moments of this race. Hang on a minute. There's been a swap of positions between Jake Pitt and Cheverton here. Oh, there's been quite a bit of battling actually between these. Jake Pitt has taken the lead. So here we're watching Matthew Cheverton. Oh, do excuse me, we have to go back even further. So here it is. Jake Pitt past Matthew Cheverton. No. I'm also trying to figure out, ladies and gentlemen, where it was. So here we go. Pulls to the inside and through goes Jake Pitt. I wonder if it was a slow down penalty. I'm not sure. We might be something to ask later on. Cheverton's now behind Ben Bennyworth. My word, what's going on here? This is the move. Cheverton's going slow. Because that was a rapid increase of speed from Bennyworth to the inside of the loop. Yeah, Cheverton's just let him go. I'm not too sure what's going on here. But he's right behind Bennyworth still, and Jake Pitt has gone away up ahead here. So Pitt is looking well handy for the win here. Less than 5 minutes ago, just 4 minutes to go, so there'll only be around about 2 laps to go for these GT3s, maybe 3. Wessel's still out there. It's now less than 8 seconds between him and Deleden. Oh, sorry, less than 7 actually. So the time really is coming down. I wonder if Wessels is saving fuel. Or he's just relaxing. I'm not too sure. He goes to the inside of Nigel Stock there. Just a few more laps remaining for Wessels here, and he'll be the first driver other than Guthrie to take a win in the Prototype Golds this season. The streak will be broken, as we just saw there. Hugo Silva takes a spin, does rejoin safely. Trying to lap a GT3, went a bit hot into the corner there, and the rear end swaps around. Oh, and there was contact with the GT3 there. And it was Andy Rooney, and he did take damage from that. So that'll, yeah, that's something that'll probably annoy Andy Rooney there, is so close to the end of the race. He's got damage on the car. If he can get himself back out on track, he can get the points. But he needs to get himself back out on track in order to do that. As annoyed as he might be, he might as well do that, because you never know in championship situations. So, just to mention of the leaders at the moment in each of the categories. Wessels leads as he goes a little bit wide there. He's got a 7-second lead to Max Deleden. First of the silvers is Diogo Sa. He's got a 48-second lead over Miguel Alpilau. What a dominant performance this has been from him. Karel Pachauka will make it 5 from 5 tonight. He got into lead very early on in this race and proceeded to continue and hasn't really had much of a threat. Gavin Gardner has been valiant in just keeping Pachauka honest, and Gardner will take a very good batch of points out of tonight. Jake Pitt, for me, a bit of an unexpected leader at this point in this race for the Silvers. I very much thought it was going to be straight between Cheverton and Bennyworth, but that late stop has got him into a very healthy position, and it remains to be seen what Cheverton was actually doing in slowing down to let Pitt by, and he did the same with Bennyworth. I'm not really sure why. I don't know if it was slow down penalties or tactics or anything like that, but yeah, it's a bit strange. But coming out of tonight, as it stands, Pitt will be leading the championship. Kruger, a dominant performance for him in the bronze category. Hasn't had much threat all race. He started near the he started at the back and he's made his way to the front, just like Pachauka has done. So a brilliant display from him tonight. Wessels is probably going to take the white flag here. No, it's the checkered flag. There we go. So there we go. Wessels will in fact make it to the end. He did have enough fuel. He probably was fuel saving because it's down to 5 seconds now, but it doesn't matter. He takes the win in the Prototype Gold. Stellar performance from him from start to finish. Kruger will be the next across the line, and the winner of the bronze category. It's 4 from 5 for him in the bronze category, and across the line he goes, continuing a good run of form is Jeffrey Kruger. Karel Pachauka, I believe, is next across the line. No, it's not. It's Diogo Sa. Another dominant performance for him. Brilliant display. 50 seconds clear. He'll take the win in the silver category. And it's all wins so far for Pachauka. 5 from 5. A win in the gold category of GT3s for him. And across the line also goes Jake Pitt with a brilliant performance in the final 15 minutes of this race to take the win in the GT3 Silvers. A very dramatic but exciting battle in that silver category. Got to take your hats off to all three of these drivers in this category, battling like they did all the way through the race pretty much. And it did come down to strategy in the end, with Jake Pitt slotting himself in the middle and getting himself to the front. Fantastic racing tonight. Very dramatic at the start. And very dramatic at the end as certain strategies came out. I think we got to give another hats off to Max Deleden. He had drama at the start of this race, and going on an off-peak strategy, he gave it a go and it nearly paid off. He got down to less than 5 seconds behind Wessels, but he couldn't quite take the win. The drama of the Prototype Gold category tonight is that Guthrie retired within a lap. He didn't even do he barely did 2 corners tonight, and Guthrie retired, which means it puts the championship up in the air a little bit. Although there are drop rounds, Guthrie will probably take one here. It does mean that he has to tread carefully for the remaining races. Very interesting. We are just waiting for more drivers to complete, and then we can go to the results. And we'll have some interviews, potentially. We might be able to speak to Dwayne Hoffman again tonight. On behalf of the Full Tilt drivers, 2 of them getting wins tonight. Sorry, only one of them getting wins tonight, sorry. Do excuse me. And that'll be Karol Puchalka. So there we go. We can go to the results now. And we'll start off with we'll go to the prototype golds first of all. So Stefan Wessels takes the win. He was pole position, and that's because he didn't take part in the last round, and he inherited a higher grid position, but he still had to do the work to get it there, and he did. And particularly all that work in the early part of the race really did help him for the latter end of the race, where he was slowing down, but he was able to maintain the gap and the lead from Max de Leiden. So Wessels is the second person in this category to take a win this season. De Leiden still eludes that win, but he gets good points out tonight and will be championship leader from this after tonight. Gaz Williams, and a good battle with him and Ben McCluskey, but Gaz Williams is the one who comes out on top of the 2 of them tonight. Hugo Silva, Rui Soares round off the finishers, and the non-finishers were Jamie Dory and William Guthrie. Prototype Silvers now. Diego Sá takes another victory. That's 3 in a row for him, and 52 seconds clear of Mikel Alpalau, who was leading the championship heading into tonight. We'll see what it does to that championship after tonight. We'll have to check in with that next week on broadcast, but it's going to be close between Sá and Alpalau. The rest of the field either lapped or didn't finish. Paul Williams takes the 3rd spot on the podium for the Speed 9 Esports team. Jorge Bentes in 4th position, Nathan Healy in 5th position, and Dwayne Hoffman last of the finishers in the category. Mark Baker, Luca Monroe, and Wesley Lewin did not finish. Gold GT3s now. And it is Karol Puchalka making it 5 from 5. Gavin Gardner, very good performance from him tonight. His best result of the season so far, and a good batch of points for him to get his championship back on track. Kieran Smart takes 3rd position, with Jesse Payne-Wilkins in 4th position. Ben Altria 5th, and then a lap down is Ricardo Santos. And the non-finishers, I think Alan McCain was a non-finisher. I'm not entirely sure by the 6 laps. I'm just judging by the 6 laps down there. But his bad luck seems to persist here in this series. Craig Jones, 8th, a non-finisher, and 9th for Miles Owens. GT3 Silvers now. Jake Pitt takes the win, and a dramatic win at that, and apparently a lap ahead of Ben Bennyworth. It might have been that Ben Bennyworth and Cheverton got lapped by Stefan Wessels at the very last minute, and Jake Pitt didn't. So quite a flattering result for Jake Pitt, but it was actually really close. A real exciting battle between those 3 in this category, and Jake Pitt came out on top with an off-peak strategy that got him to the top. Ben Bennyworth 2nd position, with Matthew Cheverton in 3rd then. Phil McDougall in 4th, with Kevin Stringer in 5th position. Baz Meacham, Nigel Stock, and Jochen Siegert, all finishers in the silver category. Over to the bronze category now, and it is Jeffrey Kruger, top of the standings, and more than a minute clear of Ruben Pino, who was on his debut tonight. So a good result for him, finishing 2nd place in category. But Jeffrey Kruger, stellar performance so far in this season, and he did in fact, yeah, so it is 4 from 5 for Jeffrey Kruger in this championship so far, and he'll be extending his championship lead after tonight. Elwyn Sykes takes the other spot on the podium and remains within a lap, but only 3 seconds behind Ruben Pino, so it got quite close between them two as it got late on in the race. Andy Chell 4th, with Stephen de Gravelia in 5th position, and Davide Favo. All 3 of those drivers we just mentioned did have dramas in some way, shape or form during that race, but did still manage to finish the race. Andy Rooney finished 7th place. He had an incident very late on, which must have cost him those positions. And Kevin Smith, 8th position, a DNF for him. Unfortunately, he had to retire due to unforeseen circumstances. Hope everything is okay for him. But yeah, that is the results for the GT3 bronzes. So we have got lined up in the interview waiting room. Oh, you guessed it, it's Dwayne Hoffman. So we'll have a chat to him in a second. We'll just do a little bit more housekeeping before we head into our interviews. The Next Gen Racing Multi-Class League, you can enter late, should you wish to. I believe it's varying fees based on when you enter into the season, but there are plenty more rounds left, and you can just get involved if you want to just drive in this league and want to get involved in endurance style racing and sports car type racing. You just need to find Next Gen Racing on Facebook or Discord and just get involved in the racing by filling in the relevant forms to get yourself signed up and speak to the admins, of course. But the Multi-Class League, big shout out to the sponsors: Benji Sim Photos, Mark Sykes Designs, Higgins Automotive, Powermax Racing, Motorsport UK, Esports Division, Sam Cases, Joyce Design, and Douglas Motorsport, as well as IMB Racewear, helping keep the ship afloat here at Next Gen Racing, putting on some great leagues. To name but a few, take a look at Next Gen Racing's Facebook and other social media platforms for the other leagues that are on. There is a Legends League starting up on Tuesdays, which is, I've broadcasted those Legends Leagues in the past, and they are fantastic to watch. There's Touring Car Leagues as well, both on R-Factor 2 and on iRacing, so plenty to get involved in here at Next Gen Racing. The calendar. This has been Silverstone GP, and next week we're off to Indianapolis Road Course. So let's go into the interviews then. So we're going to talk to Dwayne Hoffman first of all. Dwayne, it's been another superb night, actually. Not only for the team, but Karol Pachałka has made it 5 from 5. Let's talk about him first of all before we go on to the rest of the team. But that's quite a record he's accumulating here, isn't it?
Well, I will say that Karol drove. If that is not perfect, it's very close to perfect.
Yeah.
That is very high praise, considering Karol is of a remarkable standard, both as a person and as a driver. However, I want to use this opportunity to provide something constructive, not just from a team viewpoint, but overall. And I think some of our competitors need to understand that the concept of league mentality is very, very important. And what I'm hoping is for those who had drive-thrus, those who had incidents, those who struggled, will you learn from your errors? What we saw tonight is quite frankly unacceptable in an endurance race. The fact that you have GTP drivers sending it on slow speed corners on other cars, expecting those cars to get out of the way, I cannot blame Kevin Smith for feeling what he feels. I'm in full agreement with Kevin's sentiment and other sentiments where the lack of racecraft, it is unacceptable. So what I'm hoping from this is a league of this nature, ladies and gentlemen. This is a league where if you arrive and drive, you're not going to do very well. There is way too much talent in this league, and that is a testament to Jamie and Gaza and the rest who are doing a very good job, I feel, in stewarding, in administrating, and things thereof. This league has the potential to be not only a top-tier league, but a league in which people want to be here. How you demonstrate that is to realize that league mentality is everything. There are some drivers that now have some very questionable reputations after some of the decisions they have made the last few races. And so I'm hoping that they take the first 3 rounds, they look at themselves, they evaluate what to do, and more importantly, what not to do. And that we're going to see in the second part of the season, because I consider this like chapter 1. We've had our first Enduros, chapter 1. As we lead into our second Enduro, which I believe is Le Mans and Sebring are the 2 Enduros that are left, that standards will now improve across the field. There were some very good drives today. I felt the Porsche was the GTP to beat. The fixed set is very stiff in the rear. Nathan and I, we were struggling. We prefer a little bit softer rear anti-roll bar, and with the new changes, the traction control is very active. And so it's something we're going to have to learn and adjust, but the Acura drivers themselves, they lost a lot of front downforce. And so, you know, let's take stock of this. I think a lot of people are wanting to be here. Let's be here for the right reasons. And so, we just simply need to do better. We simply need to do better. In terms of team, we drove with a good spirit today. We knew that the Audi R8 is hot trash around here. So that was a struggle. Then Atria drove very well in a car that's not good here. You know, Will had his, venture. He had his issues. I was tied up in lap 1. I had nowhere to go. I went left, and unfortunately, that's where the car spun, so I was always behind the 8 ball. But we're going to wipe our hands of this and get ready for the next round of the event.
Yeah.
And so it happens. Sometimes you're the windshield and sometimes you're the bug. And today, some of us were the bug. Carol, though, windshield as usual.
All right. Okay. I'm not really sure where to go now, but
Surprise, Alex! Surprise.
Yeah, quite.
I've explored the space there for you.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so going to the positives of tonight. From our perspective, it looked like brilliant racing. We saw a fantastic battle in the silvers category, but I just kind of want to know your kind of a little bit of a retrospect from you, from Full Tilt's perspective, I suppose. How the rest of the season is going to pan out now, because Pachelka's running away with it, but things are really unraveling in the other category. So what's kind of the without going into kind of the standard side of things, what's kind of the retrospect, I guess, with other drivers in the team?
So, I'm going to fundamentally disagree with you that things are falling apart, because here is the thing that we always have to realize. We race because nothing is ever assured until we cross the finish line. And tonight, okay, we had an off night. I think that's a very fair statement to say. Will, he had his incident where he was so far behind there was no way to come through.
Yeah.
And catch up. And Will's like, you know what? I don't like Silverstone. I have a drop round. I'm going to use it. And I think that was very very good thinking on Will's part. That shows mental toughness. Andy, he actually drove a lot better. What happened was he was going to the corner and had the nose cut off. And he ended up having to take a tow about 5 minutes before the end.
Yeah, we saw that, yeah.
So I think the thing, that we have to accentuate is law of averages. Okay? We've had 2 very good rounds, and we had a so-so round. I do agree with you. Some of the racing was excellent. Because I had to go take a fast repair, I actually got to see all 3 classes of GT3 race, and I do agree with comments like, Gavin Gardner. Gavin drove well today. And there was definitely good battles in the GT3 group. And I got to, kind of watch it because I had to drive my way back through the field. So I don't think we're unraveling. I think that would be a little bit hard of criticism. You always have to allow for a bad day at the office. And we knew going into this was not going to be easy. Silverstone is a tough multi-class track. It's very much a rhythm and a flow-based track. So it happens. These days happen. And the strength of the team, and I think you would agree with this, Alex, is how do you recover from this? Like, I just saw a note in the chat, from Stephen de Gravellier saying this is his first endurance. And, hey, Stephen, you got to the end. That's a victory in itself. Enduros are hard. So, congrats to him for doing his first enduro. So, I think there's always you can take positives from it, and we will. And we'll be ready for next week.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so what about Indianapolis? Home turf for you, I suppose. I don't know which of the 3 US tracks would be closer to home to you, but how's Indianapolis for you next week? It's a bit of an unconventional call it endurance track, multi-class sports car track. But how's that track for you? Are you looking forward to it?
So I live 5 hours from Indianapolis, down I-65.
Okay.
And so it is a place I'm actually familiar with in real life. Indianapolis is a circuit that I consider it a power circuit. So don't be surprised if you see the Mercedes GT3 run well. The Ferrari should run well. They're around Indy. The thing about Indianapolis is it's a track that when you look at it on a map, you go, oh, that's not bad to drive. Long straight, corner, long straight, corner, medium straight, twisty bit, and then you do it again. But it's one of those circuits where it's easy to drive, it's hard to drive fast at. And I think the racing is going to be proper, and I'm going to say it now publicly, mega. Especially with the new special event that iRacing is putting on. I think it's 6 or 8 hours of Indy. I think it's supposed to model the real life race.
Yeah.
Next week, make sure you watch. For those who are watching this, next week, it's going to be great. You've heard it here.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a hidden gem, I think. Indianapolis road course is. It's I'm very much looking forward to it as well. But thanks for coming to speak to us tonight, Dwayne. Thank you for your honest comments as well. It's interesting to see from another's perspective sometimes on here at times. Just give us a shout out to any sponsors, affiliates, fans, friends, family watching that you want to give a shout out to.
Well, we want to give shout out to Rock Solid Rigs, SRI Industries, iOverlay, and IMD Racewear. A very special shout out to my fiance who is watching, because Saturday at about 18:15 UTC, I will be a married man. And lastly, we want to thank the league. The league is really, they're taking those steps forward. They're doing the hard work. We have a great broadcast on YouTube.
Who are you talking about there?
This is really and I want, feel free to quote this. This is a good product that's getting better. And that is very encouraging. And, we definitely saw some very good drives today, and I'm encouraged with what we're seeing in the league, and it will get better, and that's the best part. And so to be part of, NXTGEN Racing Proto GT3 Championship, we're ecstatic. We're very excited to be part of it. So thanks for having us, and we'll see you all next week.
Yeah, good stuff. Thank you for the kind words as well. It's worth just adding to that there that the admins behind the scenes put on a real good show here. They work very hard 7 days a week around their personal lives and around their working lives to put on these races. I host leagues, and it's incredibly difficult, tiring, but it is very rewarding at the same time being a host of leagues like this, particularly when it's big grids like this and such good racing like this. But Dwayne, you've summed it up as well as I have there. Thank you very much for chatting to us tonight. Thank you for racing tonight, and for you and your whole team. We'll see you next time at Indy.
Yep, and take care, everyone. And lastly, definitely come back next week, because I think you're going to see a absolute rock'em sock'em speed fest at Indy. I think it's going to be a great race.
Thank you, mate. There we go. Dwayne Hoffman chatting to us there. Very honest. It's got to be said with some of the words you mentioned there. The drivers have been quite chatty amongst themselves. I'm going to use some polite words there to represent the case here. It's been very, very communicative in Discord. After tonight's races, some drivers whose races didn't go so well as others, etc., etc. It happens in league racing, and you have got big grids here, so it can happen. But from our perspective, we've watched some brilliant racing tonight, some exciting battles for positions all over the board. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I knew tonight was going to be a fun race to watch. But we are going to finish off this stream now, because I don't think anyone else is requesting an interview. This is the NXTGEN Racing Multi-Class League, and it features prototypes and GT3s. Another thank you to the sponsors and affiliates helping out NXTGEN Racing: Benji Sim Photos, Mark Sykes Designs, Higgins Automotive, PowerMax Racing, Motorsport UK Esports Division, Sam Cases, Joyce Design, Douglas Motorsport, and IMB Racewear. Next time, we're at Indy. Spectacle of speed, the greatest spectacle in racing is the Indy 500, but this will be round 4 for us in this championship. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's going to be a very good track. It's a fairly simplistic layout, but Indy's going to be very enjoyable indeed, I reckon. But that's next week on the 13th of June. Tune in from around about 7:40 PM UK time on NXTGEN Racing TV on YouTube and Facebook. And don't forget to subscribe if you are watching right now. This has been round 3 at Silverstone. I've been Alex Everett. This has been NXTGEN Racing TV. Karol Buszałka makes it 5 from 5, and we have some new winners breaking through in other categories. Let's see what next week brings as we head into the middle part of the season. Thank you for watching. Good night.